Right. Let me check the. Should be all set. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's too slow. I did check with this. Damn it. Mm. It's I think I still use a rogue, sadly. God damn it. Mm. Mm. I wonder if I use a rogue because I hear people saying rogue. I wonder if that's the case. Mm. First.
This is some impressive work.
All right. 12. Zam o'clock. Zam o'clock. No.
What is up, everybody? This is Alex from HGTV, and it's kind of officially over. It's finished. Destiny 2 is done. Bungie released this blog post with a bunch of stuff to go over. It was Bloomberg article, the reaction of all the Destiny YouTubers, former Bungie devs speaking out about it. I think for anyone reading the tea leaves, it's not that surprising. If you've been following the company's financials and what's been going on with Sony behind the scenes for long enough, this was kind of the only way things could go forward with how big of a company Bungie is, with how many hundreds of people they have employed, and this strategy that has worked for them up until now of kind of gambling everything on these risky games, but it's paid off until Marathon. So honestly, I wouldn't be that surprised if Bungie is massively downsized or just absorbed into various parts of Sony, with Sony's only real chance to make back any of that lost revenue being licensing out the IPs, really. Anyway, let's go through this blog and see how they phrased it. Destiny 2, every end is a new beginning. For almost 12 years, we've had the joy and honor to explore the Destiny universe with all of you. Through all the ups and downs, surprises and triumphs, building Destiny alongside our players has been a monumental privilege. While our love for Destiny 2 has not changed, it's become clear that after the final shape, we've reached the time for our shared worlds and Destiny to live beyond. Destiny 2. I just realized their last expansion was a fucking Star Wars expansion. Oh my god, dude, that's the most Destiny thing ever. Like, they had their ending, they had their perfect ending, but they just had to keep going. As our focus turns towards a new beginning for Bungie, we will begin work incubating our next games. Because if you remember what they were incubating before, were all cancelled thanks to Pete Parsons' warning later. To end on June 9th, 2026, we will release the final live service content update for Destiny 2 to begin that new journey as a studio. Though active development may be concluding, we will ensure that Destiny 2 remains playable just as the original Destiny is today. Many changes in this final update will aim to ensure that Destiny 2 is a welcoming place for players to return to. Proud of Destiny 2, the places it took us and the legacy it has created. Because of you all, our universe is vast beyond years of shared stories, adventures, and victories. From the Cosmic Drone to Pale Heart to the Lawless Frontier, we forged lifelong memories and friendships with you all. We are incredibly grateful to everyone who made that journey with us. From the deepest part of our hearts, thank you. We'll see you in the stars or in our creators. Is there anything about returning the content that we paid for back into the game? That'd be cool. I'm not going to spend too much time on what they're actually tweaking for this final update because I'm not going to play it. Let's see if anything stands out. Moments of Triumph, Rediscovering Soul. June 9th, aiming to deliver a collection of love letters to players across all activity types of Destiny 2. Well, they were intended for future release. We want to make sure you had them in this update. Story. Moments of Triumph, deliver small character beats to leave the story and characters in interesting places, touching on themes across Destiny. That's extremely broad. Encourage reading, exploring to find all Easter eggs, callbacks, reveals, and love for the Lorehounds. Return of the director. Okay, so everything they did in the last two expansions is just the Destiny process of them undoing it and then acting like they're doing a favor. The lack of planning and just lack of tact in how they've wound this down is so, I mean, it's embarrassing. And I'm upset for the people working there. I'm upset for the YouTubers that like basically made this game what it is, but I'll get into that more shortly. Embrace the play feedback about the director and portal, and a new refreshed director returns to its rightful place as the center of activities. Okay, never should change. Pantheon 2.0, destinations, a trip down memory lane, sandbox, new abilities, new aspects, portal overhaul. All activities still available to play by the portal nodes. Okay, a lot of quality of life stuff, as you mentioned. Seasonal events are being retired. There'll never be another Festival of the Lost, Dawning, Guiding Games, or Solstice. You can get the rewards from the Triumph vendor. Eververse will save others. Right, this will continue to be an earnable currency through gameplay objectives. Voice of deep today. Silver will continue to be available for players to purchase and exchange for various items in the Eververse, of course. Right, thus rotations being changed from weekly to daily, giving players more opportunities to exchange and currency for cosmetics they desire. Good. Focusing system for bright engrams. Cool. Reward pass. Moment of Triumph update brings an updated reward pass. Was originally planned for Shadow and Order. I guess that's going to be the next expansion. Increased number of cosmetic rewards on the pass. We're bundling all Destiny 2 content back into a single purchase available June 9th. Includes campaigns, dungeon keys, and 30th anniversary pack and more. I assume when they say includes campaigns, that doesn't mean everything pre-beyond light. Don't make that clear. One more thing, Spyro Racing Week returns. Cool. SRL returns as a permanent edition, reopening tracks from the original Destiny experience. Okie dokie. I don't know why they've like limped on like this. Thank you. Destiny 2 has been our home for many years. The unknown can sometimes feel wild, even at scary times, but these opportunities to explore the future are invigorating. Come on. As we look around, our commitment remains the same. To make games we and you are excited to play. More or less here at Bungie, we can't thank you enough for joining us on this journey throughout the Soul System. You'll still find us Starside for years to come. Astra. This really is what they should have done after Final Shape, because this slow, painful death has just been sad to watch. Honestly, I've got no stake in the game. Like, I don't have relationships with Bungie to protect. I don't have branding that kind of forces me to only talk about Destiny 2. And the implication of this blog is that they're maybe going to work on Destiny 3 or they're working on other games, but I don't know, I'm so sure about that, especially with this Bloomberg article by Jason Schreier, who through the whole lifespan of Destiny has been exposing how chaotic it's been behind the scenes. So Bungie plans layoffs after ending Destiny 2 development. Surprise, surprise. The Sony subsidiary will focus on Marathon rather than jumping directly to Destiny 3. What a mess. This whole process has been so frustrating because it didn't have to go down like this. It didn't. I'm sick and tired of so many and shitified companies that have so much talent in them brought to their knees because of a tiny group of shitty, selfish CEOs and management teams that don't need to care because they just cash out and move on with their lives and just leave this trail of destruction in their wake. Sony's group called Bungie units planning a significant number of layoffs as it ends development on the long-running online shooting game Destiny 2. According to people familiar with the studio's plans, the company doesn't have any project lined up for Destiny 2 development team after the game comes to an end next month. According to the people who asked to not be identified because they weren't authorized to speak to the press. I think Schreier's track record is good enough to kind of believe this. Bungie doesn't plan to immediately enter production on Destiny 3. They said the number of job cuts was not known. Thursday, Bungie confirmed that the upcoming June 9th update Destiny 2 will be the final content of the game. The studio promised that it will remain online for players to access. While other Destiny 2's changes have been cleared after Bungie staff are looking to pitch and begin development of new projects, including in the Destiny franchise, but none have been greenlit, and there's no guarantee that any will move forward in a challenging market that has led companies like Sony to raise prices and cut costs. According to Bellevue, Washington, Bungie is one of the more expensive studios to operate, given the cost of paying tech-savvy workers in suburban Seattle and the longevity of its staff. So exactly what I'm saying. Bungie is also investing more in the extraction shooter Marathon, which is not met sales expectations since its March release, which the company hopes to expand its player base over time. The studio has moved some stuff from the Destiny team to Marathon in recent months. I'm so curious what window they've given them to grow the community, because I know people are sick of like constantly looking at Steam charts, but for a game of this scale, I don't know how this is sustainable when the competition is so fierce. A representative of Sony didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. Destiny was once one of the most popular games on the market, generating more than 500 million in revenue at launch in 2014 and inspiring countless imitators. In 2017, Bungie put out a sequel, and after parting ways with publisher Activision Blizzard, the studio decided to continuously update Destiny 2 with new content and expansions rather than release further entries in the franchise. Results were mixed, with millions of players stuck with the game, which became free to play in 2019. Free to play with very, very large quotation marks around it. It was never truly free to play. In 2022, Sony purchased Bungie for 3.6 billion. Highway robbery. Those fucking assholes. This is generational wealth. Just a small handful of people got like, bro, unreal. I think it was Sony's latest financials that said something like $700 million they had to scratch off. That's simply because of that Bungie acquisition and how it hasn't paid off for them. And in subsequent years, the studio laid off hundreds of employees and cancelled several projects, including Payback, a game set in the world of Destiny that was envisioned as the future of the franchise. Bungie released an expansion that appeared to include the game story of Final Shape to reviews in 2024. The play count has dropped significantly since then. The most recent release, Star Wars themed update, brought in a fraction of the Final Shape players, as a surprise to nobody. Bungie's leaders had talked about ways to retool Destiny 2 to make it more approachable for new players, but earlier this year they instead decided to end development of the game, partially to shift resources to Marathon. All of this is a lesson on how not to end a live service. Like, this is what the big winners right now should be taking in and learning from, because none of them can last forever. I would argue it's impossible, really, unless you have very rare examples like a World of Warcraft or something like that. Or I guess internally you just need to be structured in a way that is sustainable. Like Warframe seems to be chugging along, so you can forget about Destiny 3. I guess it's just not going to happen. There's no way. It would have to have been in active development like years ago, and even then it would still be multiple years away. And this is kind of unprecedented because the most similar thing, I guess, was the end of Destiny 1, but the caveat being obviously that everyone knew Destiny 2 was coming, so there was some hope of it continuing in some way. I would argue that they had plenty of opportunities to have some kind of Destiny 3 in development instead of whatever their business strategy was during COVID to massively expand and greenlight like 6+ games internally, of which nothing came of any of them, and none of them were Destiny 3. What the fuck were you thinking? Like, I'm a dumbass and I can reach that conclusion. This is insane! So yeah, we're getting all this kind of article being written now, like former Destiny 2 writer says, it turns out the real Destiny killer was CEO Pete Parsons as players prayed for Destiny 3. So this is referencing a Blue Sky post by Robert Brooks, who was previously the senior narrative designer at Bungie. And just anecdotally, I can back this up with ex-Bungie employees that I've spoken to, where even before the big like Pete Parsons drama, his name was coming up again and again as an issue, going all the way back to Bungie's relationship with Microsoft. That's where he comes from. He was a Microsoft tick, attached himself to Bungie, and off the back of everyone else's hard work, made an amount of money so obscene it probably shouldn't even be possible. Thanks, man. Good job. Awesome job. So let me get to the YouTubers who honestly for years have been core to the Destiny experience. I would argue they're actually crucial to what made anything about the game work. Two in particular, I think Bife and Datto in particular. Yeah, there is. With Bife basically filling the role of the developers and keeping everyone up to date with the story, because it was impossible to follow with the way it was actually implemented in the game. And then Datto giving you some game mechanics onboarding and like describing systems of the game and how it works in a way that the game can never do. And watching all these Destiny YouTubers over the last few years has been pretty sad, and honestly it's really disrespectful the way Bungie have treated them, considering how important they've been to the game as a community and this whole idea where it's like the shared worlds and we're meeting people and making friends and we're forging connections. And they had like close relationships with Bungie too, at least at one point. And so yeah, you have value to the company when you're useful to them for like marketing purposes. But when it comes down to it, they left all these people hanging off a cliff, as Datto puts it, in his really sad reaction to this news. They got this man in tears. You didn't have the courtesy to give them maybe a little warning. The whole way this has gone down is not okay. And yeah, I just had this sneaking suspicion that this isn't just the end of Destiny 2. It kind of feels like the end of Bungie. You could probably make that argument from the last time there was a huge wave of layoffs and a bunch of long-standing talent was let go. But this is a painful reminder that companies, they don't care about you. Individuals inside a company might be forge personal relationships with people at them, but unfortunately, that's why you can't really trust them. And why I personally have never cared about kind of access journalism or ways in to get to events so you can make content early and whatever. Kind of inherent conflict of interest, especially if you're reviewing the game. And it's been this constant process of them doing chip damage over years and years of slowly, as I said earlier, and shitifying the Destiny experience until it's too late. And it's completely incomprehensible. No one can get into it anymore. They call expansion the final shape, has the word final in it, and expected people to just keep playing it and for there to be some growth measurement somewhere. Oh my god, the last expansion was a fucking Star Wars expansion. That was the endpoint of this. It's the Destiny thing ever. I can't get over it. It's so insane. It's such a shame that it ended this way. Reflecting on my time in Destiny, I kind of learned my lesson through what happened with the first game and through all the Destiny 2's kind of side-eyeing and decision making that kind of came to a head with the content vault. As a for me personally, you just can't trust them. And ever since then, the franchise has had such a stank on it, stinky stank. You can't wash off, and they never did anything to address. So even though sure you have a final shape campaign buried in there right at the end, with the definition too little too speculate. Those who were lightsabers before it was finished. Am I right, guys? All the various timelines of how they could have wound this down. This is maybe one of the worst possible ways it could have happened. This is a spectacular, messy spiral that has left so much destruction, all for the sake of some handful of people being greedy and not truly understanding the potential that they kind of stumbled into. And sure, when Destiny was firing on all cylinders, it was really cool. The art, the music, some of this world building is really neat. The interactions with players and teamwork and communication for some of these raids are some of the best game experiences I've had. But the Stockholm Syndrome is acute. The push and pull of it, the almost abusive relationship everyone in the community seems to have with the game, tied me out way before a lot of the playlists. Also, a lot of feedback I get is that my journey through my reviews of the expansions is very similar to a lot of people kind of petering out with Final Shape. I know this doesn't feel good. It feels so much apathy towards the studio that meant so much to me once upon a time. They're just unrecognizable now. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a few months I'll be making another video about how Bungie is gone for good. I think Sony internally have been massively put off overstretching with these live service initiatives that so far with Flying Bungie, cancelled Last of Us game, Concord, Fair Games, or whatever the fuck that's going to be. I'm sure I'm missing some. Like they've lost a lot of money in this. And I'm just rambling now, so let me know your thoughts on how you feel about this. It is the most unfortunate end of an era maybe possible. I think it's productive to just be like mad at Marathon now and like blame Marathon. There's almost nothing the studio can realistically do at this point, and I really just don't see Sony investing hundreds of millions of dollars it would require to get anything significant off the ground. The economic reality seems to indicate that it would be more valuable to Sony as a company just to simply fire people or keep useful ones around and move around the company to work on other things. Like, this sucks. And all these people that would defend Bungie thought I was being too harsh on them. This is the least satisfying way to get an I told you so. I'm telling you, you give these companies an inch, they don't take a mile, they take hundreds of miles. They take the piss.
See, this is another one. We're not doing this. How many other ones? Are they all game line? How many short game here? That's what you put as a thing. With this game, I didn't it's just just say the name right. It's all these 4 times. Let's killing now. Let's Mishima. Hi, let's Got my name right. Killing now. Let's Mishima. Man sent me. He sent me grass. What? All right. Hi, Deji Olatunga. Spelled my name wrong, by the way.
Right. Yes.
Café é o seu laxante natural. Se o café te dá vontade de ir no banheiro, você não é o único. Em 1 a cada 3 pessoas, o café funciona como laxante, estimula o intestino grosso e acelera tudo lá dentro. Daí dá aquela vontade de... Com licença. Esse efeito é em grande parte por causa da cafeína, mas não só ela, viu? Até café descafeinado pode causar o mesmo efeito, provavelmente por conta da bebida quente que também ativa o intestino. Fato, pra quem tem intestino preso, pode até ajudar. Já me segue pra ficar por dentro de outras curiosidades científicas e diga, olá, ciência.
Not bad.
Totally not. Oh, no. Fuck my life. Fuck my life. TLDR. Fuck my life.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, disaster struck at Sony with their $3.6 billion acquisition. Bungie has announced end of the era now. For Destiny 2, they're leaving it behind, and then a report comes out later in the day shedding some light on the future for Bungie, and it's looking pretty dicey, but we'll go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 6, as Take-Two did weigh in on a number of different things, which did include the potential for a delay out of the game even in 2027, and then even some pricing. And we also have more sales numbers around the Switch 2, specifically in Japan, just ahead of the price increase. Turns out everyone kind of had the same idea. Go buy the system before it gets more expensive, but we'll go over all that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps a ton. And if you're new here to this channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with what we think is Fair Games. And it seems like Sony may be moving to rebrand the thing because they kind of have to at this point, but you can see over Matsu, where they noticed a trademark that was filed by Sony Interactive Entertainment for Break-In, and that was filed on May 20th, and go early. Break-In accounts were recently registered across different social media platforms, and on top of that, over a reseller, Jason Schreier weighed in with Break-In with the currency symbol there instead of the E, kind of knowing that, hey, this is going to be for Fair Games. As in, Sony understands we kind of have to rename the title because if they show you Fair Games at the beginning of a trailer, you're probably tuning out as soon as you see that. At least Break-In and catch you off guard a little bit, where you go, oh, what's this? And then you realize Fair Games is going to at least have your attention for like 20 seconds or something. That's what I assume hoping here is that the name Fair Games is completely tainted and they have to move on from it. Now, will it be able to actually work here with the new name? It's hard to say based on the information we're hearing out from the playtest. People are having a hard time finding the fun. Not necessarily here for a video game, but we'll find out more. I assume at that state of play it's happening at the beginning of June because this seems like it's lined up to be shown. Also, we may have had some footage leak out for Virtua Fighter 6, and it's pretty impressive, almost too impressive at times. I'll show you this. Popped up over on the video platform Billy Billy and quickly circulated around, so it's pretty easy to find some place like Reddit stuff. But I have seen it get pulled down at times too, so I don't know if this is something they can copyright. I'll show you some Virtua Fighter 5 footage or something. I'll go over it. But this seems like it's either very low quality or off-screen footage of the game being played in a trailer sense because also developers come in and talking on screen. But I mean, just showcase here clearly. Or the mechanics, the just overall, I mean, choreography, the movement of the characters, the visuals. It's very stylish, nothing over the top, and I guess it's supernatural from Fireball. This looks impactful. It looks vicious. I hand-to-hand combat, yes, it's like really cool. It looks cool. So some style to it where there's like a chaos screen, the characters still background orange KO. It looks good. I'm not super playing this. This looks cool. I'd be curious to get out of in this. It looks cool. So for this one though, I mentioned to see more here about this in the trailers making rounds. Maybe this is another thing they line up for. And the major events happening here pretty soon in June. So it's keep an eye out for that because this one's certainly impressive show online. Oh, and sticking with the idea of some reveals for June, take a look at this. Stuff on social media. Some Crazy Taxi. It looks like they're getting ready maybe to show up here with this new entry. And I mean, if I take a guess, Summer Game Fest, that sounds right for this one. It's nice to see. Crazy Taxi in 2026. That's gonna be fun. Sure, just interested in seeing what the game's gonna be like. Absolutely. But the game also I think hinges on the soundtrack. This is very iconic. If you look at the replies or just like a 5-second clip, a lot of people quoting things like Offspring. This is just an iconic song to go along with the game. I'm curious to go back and get some older tracks where they put together like a whole new like list of songs for the new age Crazy Taxi. But it's a lot of fun doing this Summer Game Fest as this is one I'm expecting. And guys, some quick news out of the way. Let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start with Sony and Bungie because we had an update come out around Destiny 2 that made waves online. Why? Because a game has been ongoing for 9 years, it's coming to an end, and unfortunately, it doesn't really seem like Bungie has a plan necessarily for what's next, specifically when it comes to like, for Destiny fans. And thinking on that regard, going all the way back to when Destiny 1 launched in 2014, it's been 12 years of at least some kind of Destiny update happening at some point. It's been a consistent run of updates for the Destiny community, and it's about to come to an end at this point. So I saw a lot of sadness actually. It's a reflection of wow, this is a large chunk of my life, and it's over. Now the game will still be going on. Like they're shutting the servers down, but there'll be no further updates. So you can see overall on their post they made on their website. They say on June 9, Destiny 2 Monument of Triumph, this is the last update of the game, will be available to all players. They go on to say, as our focus turns towards a new beginning for Bungie, we'll begin work incubating our next game. To that end, on July 26th, release the final live service content update for Destiny 2 to begin that new journey as a studio. Though active development may be complete, we will ensure that Destiny 2 remains playable just as the original Destiny is today. Many changes in its final update aim to ensure that Destiny 2 is a welcome place for all players to return to. Now I will say for Destiny 2 it's kind of strange because there's a lot of content that's just going on. It's like a vault, and so it's kind of all over the place. Currently just trying to figure out all the lore or working my way through the game as you figure it's like intended to play. So there's a lot of frustration around that because they're kind of stepping away from it without resolving at least the idea of putting the old content back into the game. But anyway, for me, when I look at these live service games, I do kind of expect that eventually not every game is going to go on forever. There are very few forever games. Like World of Warcraft is one that comes to my mind immediately. That's still going on. And I remember when it came around when I was in like finishing high school and college, going to college, World of Warcraft there. And it's still here. That's just not like a typical thing, especially for a game like Destiny 2. That's a sequel to another game. So when you put a number on a game like that in sequel, to me, it's implying there would be a Destiny 3, which is kind of what I was figuring. I think everyone else was too. Was looking at this going, oh, okay, I guess you guys are going to make Destiny 3, right? It makes sense. Destiny 2, which is the end service their updates, and then focus all their energy on making the follow-up, the big launch, and fade from the ceiling and everything. Maybe not though. And this is where it gets pretty dicey for Bungie. We can see this over on Bloomberg, and this was published like 2 hours or so after all this was going down, where it says Sony brute force Bungie unit is planning a significant number of layoffs as it ends development on the long-running shooter game Destiny 2. According to people familiar with the studio's plans, the company doesn't have a new project lined up for Destiny 2's development team after the game comes to an end next month. Bungie doesn't plan to immediately enter production like Destiny 3. Bungie staff are looking to pitch and begin development of new projects, including in the Destiny franchise, but none of them greenlit, and there's no guarantee that any will move forward in a challenging market. There's like companies like Sony to raise prices and cut costs. I mean, it's the alarm bells all over the place for Bungie right now. If they're looking to do significant layoffs, Bungie right now is around 800 people, and it seems like half the studio maybe is working on Marathon right now. That seems to be the focus right now is Marathon. Like they moved resources from Destiny 2 to Marathon. That was like earlier this year, and now we're seeing them move away from Destiny 2, and they're going like all in on Marathon as like their primary title. But I don't think that's a good idea because Marathon in its current state is not holding up its end of the bargain compared to like Destiny 2, which is pulling in a similar amount of players, sometimes more players than Marathon when you wind up their active player charts and look at that and go, huh, maybe people do still want to play more Destiny than they do Marathon. So you assume, well, that means Destiny 3 would be next up, but they were never working on it. I don't understand that at all. That just seems strange to go about this whole thing when they have the run that they did from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, where it was a fairly quick turnaround. I know some of that had to do with them breaking away from Activision, but they still launched Destiny 2 when it dropped was massive. They continued with that player base in Destiny 1. So I do think when you like go to Destiny 2, the implications that there will be Destiny 3 at some point, and now they're kind of no man's land where they lay people off. Well, they want people to make Destiny 3. So I guess these incubation projects go through a greenlight process and then we'll start active development. And it won't come out for 3 or 4 years. So it really is like all on Marathon right now. I don't know how that's going to work because it has a hardcore fan base right now, but it's kind of a niche fan base, and it certainly is not on the level of Destiny 2 was in its heyday. And I'm not sure what's happening now Bungie because it seems like if they lay a bunch of people off, they would have to hire a bunch of people to make Destiny 3. So they're not doing that, I guess. It's not looking at Bungie like at this point. My money would be on Bungie closing down before Destiny 3 comes to fruition. So turbulent times ahead for Bungie at this point. Maybe they'll get lucky or fortunate Marathon explode. I'm not really counting on that one. Next, I'll talk about Take-Two as an issue and update for this massive title coming up. They heard of Grand Theft Auto 6, and they had a call with their investors about the whole thing. And there's some stuff they touched on, some stuff that they were like trying to skate around a bit, specifically pricing. But we can start with the obvious one, elephant in the room. The idea that this game maybe delay further into 2027. This was covered, and we actually see a number of different slides they put over on their investors website. And to start, GTA 6 is indeed still on track for November 19th. They've doubled down on that. Strauss Zelnick said over and over again, basically no delay has been announced. Full speed ahead now for November. Marketing still set for summer. Okay, and then you have pre-orders follow from there. And the way they're talking about this kind of feels like July, maybe August. You might say, wow, that's pretty close to the. Yeah, we're gonna have big marketing blitz before the game comes out. People all excited, ready to go, and we'll pre-order on there pretty quick and give them their money. Now he touched on the Best Buy. So that's the Best Buy stuff. I don't know. You asked me for it. No idea what happened with the Best Buy pre-order stuff that was going around. He was asked about pricing for the game, and Strauss Zelnick basically told Variety, no, I'm not going to announce it here. So again, things people are curious about pricing. At least not double down. It is coming out November 19th. Get this, rumors already starting up about trailer 3. Expectation it could drop next week. And then expectation could drop this week. So it might be that thing where like every week people are like, oh, okay, GTA that trailer 3 is going to drop. Eventually, right? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think that's a situation where it happens when no one's really expecting it. So that's what I'm going to go with here. Okay. Otherwise, we did some updated sales figures. GTA 5 is at 230 million copies. That is absolutely obscene. Red Dead Redemption 2, 85 million copies. And if you look at the best-selling games of all time in like the top 5, Rockstar and Take-Two, they have 2 of them with these games. So the popularity, obviously, they have the pull in the industry. So GTA 6 is not a big number. So figure that Take-Two did issue guidance for this fiscal year. They're expecting $8 billion to start. And a lot of that has to do with GTA 6 launch that'll be happening November 19th. So the expectation there, the stock exploded upwards when they said November 19th. So I'm not expecting any delays. If anything, probably about a month or two, we should start to see a big marketing blitz as they had for holidays. Next, I'll talk about the Famitsu sales charts. Now, the Switch 2 will be going on the price in Japan next week. The data here is for last week, so one more week where we'll see if it is still a situation of people going crazy and like frenzy buying the Switch 2 up, which I mean, take a look at some of the sales here. Some of the games, Touch Life was number 1 still at 98,000 copies. It's more than 1.1 million copies sold in Japan. Then we have Pokemon Copia 20,058. Then Mario Kart World, Minecraft on the Switch, Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Switch, then Animal Crossing again on the Switch 2, Pragmata there on the PS5, Pretty Riders, Super Mario Party Jam, and Pokemon Legends ZA. Now moving over to the hardware, the Switch 2 at the top, 217,922 systems. That is that's my number. That's the number I expect to see later in December or something. Here it is in the third week or so of May, right? That does push the lifetime total for the Switch 2 in Japan up over 5.5 million. Oh, right, that's pretty fast. That really is. Okay, so the Switch 1 right below that 21,392, PS5 9,243, the Xbox Series system at 431. So this is just, I would see probably another number like this pop unless there's legitimately no more stock. And that's the other concern I'm sure many people in Japan are like, okay, these systems are going to sell out and we're going to buy anyway, and then I'll spend more. And I'm sure a lot of these systems are like the cheaper Japan only Switch 2 because that is actually a pretty significant price jump where it will be more expensive than the PS5 when that happens next week on May 25th. So big numbers here, expecting another pretty big number coming on stock for next week, and we'll take a look at that just to see. And then also news, talk about Ubisoft and their fiscal year report, and it didn't look great for Ubisoft because they lost a lot of money, but then they also talked about, hey, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, some big games from big franchises, and generative AI, they slipped that one there pretty quick. But let's take a look at their entire report here. They did announce a 1.3 billion operating loss. That's quite substantial. Now Ubisoft is going through a lot of reorganization right now, but that's still a lot of money that you put on balance or on that balance sheet. Yeah, put the minus symbol next to it. Not great. Now they are according to them looking towards a strong rebound. That is attributed to Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Ghost Recon. All these franchises will be seeing new titles, some multiple titles here in the next couple of years. They will have acceleration of live service games. Okay, again, the live service stuff, obviously it's hit or miss. If you get it right and really figure out a game, you can make a lot of money. You'll just see so many come out in this stuff. Now, of course, we know they're working on something like Vision 3. That should do very well. I'm more so curious about some of the weirder new IPs that they'll probably attempt here that probably just fizzle out. Either way, yeah, they're going all in. They're quadrupling down on live service games. And then towards the end of the report, they talk about AI. They talk somewhat about the tools they're using internally to try to speed up development. But then they also mentioned their first playable generative AI experience. And they try to describe this somewhat. It's like, oh, generative AI can be used in an open world setting where the world will change and more to the player depending on what they're doing. And okay, I understand that sounds like it'd be cool and would take open world games to the next level. But I'm also curious how that would actually turn out in practice. Like, you can play around with this internally, you can workshop it, you can do your focus group stuff. When you actually put it out into the real world, you have 100,000 million people using it. That's why I start thinking about how it's going to be completely broken. So I read that it was like, and keep in mind, Ubisoft tends to try some like cutting edge but very trendy stuff. Remember the ones NFT games, that was absolutely ridiculous. Like the pricing on that stuff was insane. And that also broke. And they didn't fix it for I'm actually checking on later, still wasn't working. So who knows there? But yes, they will try some sort of generative AI game, but at least we'll have something with Assassin's Creed, no Black Flag Release coming up, something else gets Far Cry, I like Far Cry, that'd be cool. And also have Ghost Recon is the last one. That was very good. But there we go. Ubisoft going to turn things around from a massive operating loss to report. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the post up yesterday. Whereas have you played Destiny 2 before? 56% say no, 44% say yes. And again, Destiny 2's been around for a while. It's been 9 years, right? And it's on all kinds of platforms. I remember playing it on Stadia just to try it out there. It wasn't a terrible experience either. In fact, I would still say Stadia to this day is one of the better streaming experiences. Destiny 2 being around for as long as it's moved like replay status. They've been in and out in terms of subscription services. Their content drops while infrequent times are crazy and like a lot of people are hyped at different points. So I think there are many people out there who try the game, try it again. That's basically what I would do. Occasionally I check out Destiny 2 for a bit, play it for a couple of weeks and pull out of it and go back to it. So it seems like there's at least some experience for many people out there with Destiny. It seems weird for them to just move off of it. So I have to imagine 80% of the pitches that are happening are within the Destiny universe. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like any of them are Destiny 3, and that's so head scratching to me. And we'll finish up the comments of the day. Interesting here. This is from Kid Blaze. It says his name dropped E3 and everyone is like, what's E3? So we had the last in-person E3 was 2019. I think the last E3 where all the companies were there was 2018. But Sony in there. I think it was 2018. But 2019, yeah, it's been 7 years. So you're right in that there are many kids who, you know, 18, we'll say 18, they were 11 the last time that the that's crazy to think about because each year we go along, we'll stack more years. Eventually we'll look around, wow, it's been 13 years since last E3, and then you're right. Someone's looking at what's E3. I don't know. They go back and find short videos to show off to them. And ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. Leave comments down below everything. We talk about here. If you missed yesterday's news, I'll leave up here in the card. Or maybe you'll hear more about how live service games keep getting canceled with some more recent massive titles really in depth on the industry. And today we're looking at that. Anyway, thanks for watching. great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 Eastern time for Newswave.
People, GitHub has been hacked, and you will never believe how they were hacked. Oh my god. Also, I can't believe that the hackers were able to, hack GitHub. I can't believe GitHub was up long enough for them to even be able to accomplish that. Like, that's kind of crazy. All right, everybody, this is just a developing situation, so this video will have some level of incomplete information, but nonetheless, this hack is nuts. What's going on is actually nuts. I don't think I've ever laughed so hard in my entire lifetime than actually going through this thing. So we're gonna walk through the timeline. We're gonna learn all the details and what actually caused the hack. And trust me, it is cinema. Absolute cinema. But of course, before we begin, so let's go over the timeline, what has happened, and what led to this disaster, and really what is the disaster. So first off, this tweet was sent on May 19th, 2026. We are investigating unauthorized access to GitHub's internal repositories. While we currently have no evidence of impacts to customer information stored outside of GitHub's internal repositories, such as our customers' enterprise, organizational repositories, we are closely monitoring our infrastructure for follow-up activity. So this tweet was sent out. Obviously, nobody has any idea what the actual impact is. They're saying, hey, we've been hacked, but don't worry, you haven't been hacked. Honestly, feels pretty unbelievable. Personally, I'm going to be going through and probably rolling a lot of my credentials because Shai Hulud has been getting everybody, but this is not Shai Hulud. Then about 24 hours later, not even, we see this beautiful little post right here from Team PCP. Please, PCP, please don't hack me. Please, I'm not worth it. Just trust me. So PCP writes the following: hello again, breached. Hope everyone is doing well. We're, by the way, crazy way to start off a message. Just like, hey, everybody, how you guys doing? Honestly, weather. Can you complain about today? No, you can't. Also, hack the universe. Exciting? No, just so good. All right, we are here today to advertise GitHub source code and internal orgs for sale. Like, they're out there selling this stuff. No lowball offers will be accepted. Everything for the main platform is there, and I'm very happy to send samples to interested buyers to verify the absolute authenticity. There's around 4,000 repos of private code here, and gives out some sort of list of repos. Please read these carefully to understand what the breach entails. As always, this is not a ransom. We do not care about extorting GitHub. One buyer, and we shred the data on our end. It looks like our retirement is soon, so if no buyer is found, we will leak it for free. So this is the not ransom letter. They're just out there like, hey, sell it. Someone buy it if you want to be the ones that own GitHub's internal code, so you can do whatever hacking you want to do, or we'll just release it for everybody to look at. Which, by the way, this would be extremely damaging. It's one thing to attempt to hack a server. You have to kind of discover and go through things. Being able to have the complete source code obviously opens up the entire ecosystem to significantly more surface area for attacking. Quite the adventure that could be going on for GitHub here in the coming days, coming months. GitHub has been just absolutely struggling on all fronts. It is crazy to watch this company in real time. Like, we can all sit down and agree that for the last 8 months, no one's been happy about GitHub. Their uptime is absolutely abysmal. I know this status bar is technically incorrect because it takes every form of downtime as actual downtime, but if you do put them all together, it is currently at 86.68%, which again, that doesn't mean you're experiencing that. That is just nuts. 81 incidences in 90 days. I mean, it's just a daily diary at this point. But then 2019, later on, they come out and they give all the details. 6.8 million views. That is just, those are crazy numbers. One, we are sharing additional details regarding our investigation into unauthorized access to GitHub's internal repository. Yesterday, we detected and contained a compromise of an employee device involving a poisoned VS Code extension. Cinema. Oh my goodness, I can't even believe this. By the way, in this day and age, I am shocked. I'm shocked. I cannot even remotely fathom the case why anybody would use VS Code at this point. I know that's crazy coming from me. Obviously, you can see right here, I'm kind of a NeoVim boy. Kind of like a little bit of track code come from me. But nonetheless, this whole idea of using VS Code just feels crazy. There's several reasons for this. One of the most insane parts of VS Code is that you get all these extensions. All these extensions use NPM. They all bundle all these things together. NPM has been a non-stop, continuous vector for the last year of just breach after breach. You installing NPM just greatly increases your chances of getting owned. You running anything from NPM greatly increases the chances of you getting owned. And so you have an editor. Now, here's the craziest part about VS Code. When you use VS Code, you open up every project that effectively contains a .env file, either for your company or for you personally. So not only are you opening up exactly where all the sensitive information is, you are actually updating and running potentially insecure code continuously on those projects. And the things that make it even more wild is VS Code, a lot of these large projects, a lot of these large extensions, they all come with auto-updating. Auto-updating is how you get owned. Like, that is precisely the big problem right now, is people keep auto-updating NPM and just getting owned immediately. Like, this has happened repetitively over and over again, hundreds if not thousands of packages, and you have a thing on your computer in which is just automating that whole process. VS Code, it's not like extensions are somehow Microsoft endorsed pieces of code. Anybody can make an extension. It's a marketplace. You don't even have any way to audit what's actually happening in that marketplace without actually going to where it is and reviewing the code yourself. And then even worse, the release doesn't have to match what's in the code base. I know it's not 2023 anymore. Editor wars don't exist anymore. Okay, so I'm kind of like, brothers, this is like my civil war. I'm reliving it, okay? I miss the days of arguing over editors and languages instead of today where we're always arguing over models. Like, that's like 90% of developer discourse. Like, actually, this agent harness is the best. My shaman is actually the best way to do it. I have the secret, most secret unknown way to use agents, and what I do is the most magical, and I can sell you a course. Whereas back in my day, we used to argue, by the way, back in my day was just 2 years ago. We used to just argue about languages and editors, and if you didn't use NeoVim, you're a chump. Like, oh man, those are good days. I miss them. And so this is me reliving it right now. Oh, I can't believe I get to do this. Just one more time. This is my last time, okay? This is my swan song. This is my last one. I love it. We removed the malicious extension version. By the way, version. Notice version. That means, again, this was a supply chain attack. Isolated the endpoint and began the incident response immediately. Our current assessment is that the activity involved exfiltration of GitHub's internal repositories only. The attacker's current claims of 3,800 repositories are directionally consistent with our investigation so far. Meaning, this is likely legitimate. What you're seeing here, this could actually just be happening right now. They literally stole it. They might make some extra money, but they're just in it for the love of the game at this point. They're just going to release it for free. Completely incredible behavior. Now, this is kind of like my own personal take here. If all the internal stuff is actually taken, I would be, personally, I am more wary than ever using GitHub as a means to store anything private. I'm not going to lie to you. I have a couple private repositories that contain some environment secrets to make it easy to share. I also store, I've used GitHub secrets. Like, I don't know if GitHub secrets can also be compromised. Like, I have no idea. This whole thing really makes me lose a lot of confidence in GitHub. Like, I was already not very happy just to begin with, but this, oh my goodness. I am not stoked, shall we say. So now let's actually get to what caused the hack itself. The poisoned VS Code extension. Savant Chat, you're a hero in my book. Poisoned VS Code extension is a polite way of saying a senior dev installed a random syntax highlighter with 14 downloads because it looked aesthetic. To be fair, it actually wasn't a random syntax highlighter or rainbow squirrelies or some sort of 9-cat agent wait until it's finished meowing experience. No. It actually was this right here. NX console. Turns out supply chain attack. This happened about 3 days ago. There's an article right now going over saying, yes, due to auto update on by default, VS Code, all the VS Code flavors, they're all susceptible to this problem. And this is what actually had GitHub, and including the CEO of NX DevTools right here saying, hey, guess what? Yep, this did happen. This was us. We got supply chain attack, and this led to GitHub effectively being hacked. So obviously a couple big takeaways. Number one, again, I would worry, I would find a way to turn off auto updates. I would be a bit more wary of the extensions you use. So what's the big takeaway? Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious what the big takeaway is. It's you should have used, oh, come on, am I that predictable? This was said, oh my gosh, this was said before I'm even recording this. This person already knew. Pego, you already knew I was gonna say this. The real answer here, should have used Vim. Okay, hey, the real ones. It does actually hurt a little bit to be this predictable. I just cannot believe I am that predictable that someone could see around corners and send off a tweet and it's like word for word what I said. The name is the prime engine.
Why learn machine learning like you did when for most developers, like using an LLM is just making a series of API calls?
If you want to use these tools, you can just use them by, playing with the models, chatting with them all day, and you'll get a lot of value from that. But then you will hit potentially a wall and you'll be like, well, I wanted to do this. And like when that moment happens for you, you have to dig deeper. Like you have to understand why is the model producing this output instead of some other output? And it's difficult if you don't have a foundation to even know how to like debug or think about the problem in such a way that you can solve.
Another one.
Real men don't cry, they get angel dust in their eyes. All bark, no bite. Big man, small kite. Real women don't come. Where the fuck did you hear that from? Two truths, one lie. Let both flags fly. We're going to this party, showing up uninvited. Everyone hates us 'cause they see our pain. We're gonna rock your body, anything goes, can't fight it. Everyone loves us 'cause we're late. You took the bait, don't try to hide it, don't try to fight it. You were indicted, take this bet, it's so annoying how you're enjoying balling hook, line, sinker. Real men don't cheat in their diet, eating only meat. Don't knock till you try it. Don't be it, just buy it. Real women don't eat. Gazing at the sun is all they need. Two truths, one lie. Don't ask about mine. We're going to this party, showing up uninvited. Everyone hates us 'cause we scream in pain. We're gonna rock your body,
Oh, fuck.
Yara Yara funk may be everywhere today, but it has actually been cultivated over a matter of years, to the point that it encompasses a great many subtrends and prior formats before it. Every time I finish the script for this video, a new aspect of this trend reveals itself, as it's truly a beautifully laid conglomeration of previous formats, Notably, the Yara Yara song itself is a slowed remix of the 2017 hit Sua Amiga Vou Picar by MC Lan
Sua
and
Amiga Vou
MCWM. However, April 2026 saw it adopted as a track associated with glazing various cartoon
I'm
characters,
gonna
such as
hook
Tom
up with your friend,
Picar by
with your female friend. Yeah, I'm gonna hook up with your female friend. And I say female friend because, yeah, amigo, amiga, there's no the word friend in English, yeah, you know, it's just there's no gender to the word, so you gotta specify by the end, whatever.
MC Lan and MCWM. However, April 2026 saw it adopted as a track associated with glazing various cartoon characters, such as Tom, thanks to the efforts of JK, who used it for the Tom Aura meme back in April. From there on, it would find itself called Yara Yara Funk due to the specific lyrics, Elara Yara Ya. In fact, the bit you hear the most can be translated specifically from Portuguese into, "Today life has changed, and today I don't want to date you anymore. You know why? Because I'm going to date your friend, and la raya raya. I'm going to date your cousin, and ra raya raya raya." It quickly spawned into a meme that connotes aura, as it found itself applied across a myriad of characters and structures, including auras of kids from friend groups, mirroring JK's original Tom iteration. In fact, it's been repeated so often that a new version has been constructed in the form of Mipan Zuzuzu, which takes a Russian song from 2010 that promoted a cereal and was subsequently turned into a meme in 2020, and repurposes it to fit the Yara Yara Funk remix. We haven't seen this level of funk hitting the internet since Russian drift funk blew up in the late 2010s, and now it seems Brazilian funk is the dominant structure in the mid-2020s. Of course, much of these memes are satire of the seriousness of funk's use in the past, as for a short while it was the only genre of music used to emphasize coolness, aka aura, which is why other songs such as Tiki Tiki Funk are trending too. There are other formats associated with Yara Yara Funk, such as Aura of Letters, however, these will need their own discussion in the future as they're large enough to warrant attention. In short, the Yara Yara Funk clips stem from an edit of Tom using a slowed remix of Brazilian funk, which in turn is inspired by Russian drift funk, which in turn has become parodied across the internet due to its once ubiquitous presence. What meme would you guys like me to give a lesson?
God damn it, broke again.
Why doesn't Prime have someone create a briefing doc for the things he's going to talk about? Too much hemming and hawing. Sorry, the stream just moves on and life goes forward. I'm not going to create a briefing doc, I know. All right, everybody, would you like to read my dossier that I have prepared for each one of these segments? Each segment will have its own dossier, formally filled out and submitted to chat for pre-reading. Once you're done pre-reading, we shall continue by decree of the Primogen. Brother, what the hell are you even talking about?
That's pretty much. Briefing doc can just use this shit. No. No. I don't think I'm missing anything here, but
Alright, dude, I literally didn't know what else to call this video. I get snuggle sneezes, bro, that's what they are, okay? I don't know what else to call them, but let me at least try to clarify a little bit, because it's really, really weird, so I'm gonna try my best to explain what I mean by this. Also, I'm like 99% certain that I'm like the only person in the entire Milky Way galaxy, probably the universe for that matter, that even experiences this. But if you do too, please comment down below, bro, because, you know, I'm pretty convinced I'm alone on this, but yeah, so let's just jump into it. So, like most of my stories, this one begins in high school, more specifically about 10th grade, okay? I got hit by my first wave of loneliness, and, you know, I was going through a bunch of tough emotions that were just super hard to process. And, you know, it was complicated. I'd never felt this way prior. I'd never felt loneliness, you know, that pure, utter feeling of loneliness before in my entire life. And of course, like, yeah, to a degree, I was a freaking emo, depressed loser or whatever, but, you know, it was so foreign to me. It was so foreign to me. I never felt lonely like that before. And specifically for me, that, like, feeling of loneliness came in the form of, like, the craving for touch. I felt a lot of cravings for physical touch around that time, which, again, I had never felt before. And yeah, I've mentioned in a few other videos of mine that, like, yeah, I've experienced, like, this quote-unquote phenomenon of touch starvation or whatever you want to call it. And, like, yeah, I think it's a real thing. Like, don't get me wrong. But it's just so hard to, like, really, like, diagnose, if that makes sense. And it's hard to say exactly if that's exactly what I'm dealing with or if something else entirely different is at play. Like, I don't really know. Especially because, like, for me, this all happened after puberty. You know what I mean? Like, I had never really felt that way until after after I had gone through puberty and I started. So like maybe it was like something to do with that. Maybe this was some sort of weird like emotional development that happened within me because I started going through puberty. I mean, honestly, dude, I have no idea. Now, okay, here's when it gets really, really interesting. Okay, this was around the time, all right, that lo-fi hip hop was really big. If you remember that, it still is kind of like around, but most of it's kind of slop. It's kind of just copy and paste the same instrumental over and over and over again with the same drum loop over and over and over again, and that same obnoxious like vinyl cracking sound that's used in every single song. Well, okay, I'd listen to this all the time back when it was like super big. Like, you know, while doing schoolwork, just hanging out, like whatever it was, man. You're going for a walk. I'm gonna listen to some lo-fi hip hop. Video games, yeah, dude, totally. Put on some of that. It's like super relaxing, gets my head in the right space, help me keep my cool and everything. You know, it was good music. Okay. Now, if you remember, there was a series of like live streams that would go on with like this like the lo-fi study girl or whatever, and you know that was like the main thing I'd listen to. I'd usually listen to that, and I'd listen to it while going to sleep, while waking up in the morning, while studying or whatever. I remember there was one particular live stream. I don't remember what account uploaded it, but it was just called something like lo-fi hip hop beats to relax/sleep to, and I would go to sleep to that literally all the time. And it had like this little video of like the lo-fi study girl like laying in bed, and she was just like petting her cat that was like laying down on her lap or whatever, sleeping. Like super cute and harmless thing, right? And like I don't know why, okay, but it just felt like really nice because it kind of felt like she was with me in a way. Like does that make sense? Like it was, I mean, it was innocent, right? It felt completely innocent. It was just like she was like a friend or something, you know? I don't really know. It's like at the time I didn't really have a whole lot of friends and everything. It felt like a bit of an escape of sorts, you know what I mean? Like after I got home after a super long day of school, I could just, you know, listen to this music, fall asleep, and I would, you know, imagine that, you know, she was there with me. And like I always had an aversion back then to like these sorts of like roleplay-esque scenarios because I was an edgy teenager and I thought, you know, it was like considered morally wrong for me to ever even think about the possibility of a solid relationship with anybody, romantic or not. Okay, it was just like really, really weird. It was like the thought that it was like cringe or something. Don't know. At night around that time, I started to get this really weird innate urge. It just kind of happened out of nowhere, against my will, right? But like I just like got the bright idea, like I'm gonna grab this blanket in my bed and I just start like, you know, cuddling with it or whatever, and I'd pretend that it was like the lo-fi study girl. But like that's what I would always do every single night whenever I go to sleep. I'd grab a blanket and I'd pretend that I was like, you know, snuggling with the lo-fi study girl, and you know that like she was like consoling me or something and telling me that like I was going to get through X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you what, man, it definitely did help me a lot. But I definitely felt like weird about it because, you know, again, I felt weird about the roleplay-esque scenarios. It felt like quote unquote degenerate behavior. You know, not to say that it is or that it was. It's just like back then that's like how I felt about it because I guess I was just like super emotionally closed off or something. It wasn't as bad as I was making it out to be. I mean, if at all, really. And it was 100% innocent every time. Like it was just, you know, I needed a way to help myself get to sleep, bro, and that's what I did. I mean, really, is it really a moral failing to hug a blanket while you fall asleep? I don't really think so. Okay, but here's what's weird though. Okay, when I first did this, I discovered something very weird about my body. So whenever I got too deep into thought, all right, whenever I was studying with this blanket, and I got to the point where I truly convinced myself that I was cuddling with a real life person, you guessed it, I'd sneeze. Okay, a single sneeze. You know, not like a chain of 2 or 3 sneezes like a normal person. No, just one sneeze. I don't know why. Okay, it was so freaking weird. It would happen every single time though. And no, this hasn't gone away either. I'm talking about this in the past tense, but it still happens today. I'm 21 years old now, and this has been happening since puberty practically, since I was like 14 or 15 years old. I mean, today, every single time I sleep with a stuffed animal, it has the potential to happen if I tell myself that it's like a real person. Heck, I don't even have to be physically touching anything either. Like if I just think really hard, if I think hard enough about it, like I could feasibly force myself to sneeze. Okay, albeit much harder to do so than if I'm like in bed or whatever, right? But you know, it's happened before. It's definitely happened before, where I'm at work and I just get bored and I drift off to La La Land, and then suddenly I just freaking sneeze by accident, and it's one sneeze, and then like people will point out to me, they're like, "Bless you, that was kind of weird. That was just one sneeze. Normally you sneeze more." And I'm like, "Ha, yeah, totally wasn't like fantasizing about freaking cuddling with whoever the heck." It's like, oh my gosh, dude, it's so freaking strange, bro. What? So yeah, before you assume that like, you know, I was just like allergic to the fabrics or places of, you know, whatever I was hugging while I was going to sleep. No, it happened too without any physical stimuli as well. Like it's just so freaking strange though. I mean, heck, this has even happened like in class. I remember after I had first discovered this or whatever, I would like be in my science class and I would be spacing out, and you know, I'd just be imagining being back in bed at home, being in bed with the lo-fi study girl, and then I just start sneezing. Like I just start sneezing in class, and you know, it was like the middle of lectures. Like obviously, like no one was going to tell me bless you. Also, like who says bless you anymore? They just like stare at you like you're a deranged lunatic. But whatever. Okay, the real question I gotta ask is what the heck is wrong with me? I mean, like why does this even happen? All right. And yes, I tried doing research on this too. And you know what I found? Okay, look, I thought I'd find others. I thought I'd find some people who might have possibly gone through the same thing as me. But no, all I found was some freaking weird forum page for people with a sneeze fetish of all things. I didn't even know that was a thing. How could you even be freaking turned on by sneezing? It doesn't even make any sense to me. Like that's not even remotely similar to what this is at all. Okay. But hey, shout out to my sneeze fetish folks out there, bro. I know y'all got it rough. The oppression is crazy. Honestly though, okay, I just can't even possibly come to a actual hypothesis as to why this even happens to me. I mean, sneezing from that, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, like nothing is happening. You know, like nothing is happening. I'm just chilling. You know, and then I'm thinking about something, and then I sneeze. That's a bit strange. Hashtag 50 Shades of Awkward. Methinks. I don't know. That's really strange. I don't know why it happens. Okay, my best possible guess is that maybe there's some sort of weird genetic overlap or crossed wires where, you know, there obviously shouldn't be. You know, think about how like there were like, what is it, 1 in 4 people or something who experience that weird thing where whenever they walk outside in the sunlight, they sneeze or something like that. You know, like it's like a thing that like kids are supposed to do. Like it happens with kids, but sometimes whenever they get older, it stays with them, and then they keep on sneezing whenever they go outside, whenever it's like super sunny. It's like really weird. I don't know why it happens, but maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's some sort of thing like that. I've also found a few other things, like there's some sort of like really rare yet slightly documented situation where like people can like sneeze whenever they become aroused or something, and that's like definitely weird.
That's what the. But it has to be very sudden from 0 to 100 from personal experience, I guess. It has to be very sudden, and it's not guaranteed to always happen. So it's so rarely often.
That's like definitely weird. And like I mean, come to think of it now, like as I'm recording this, you know, the sneeze fetish thing kind of does make a little bit of sense then, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Listen, okay, whatever it is, all right. I don't.
But I don't have the fetish for sneezing. Nope. It's more like, I don't know. Maybe it's just a sudden body reaction that doesn't know what to do with it. It cannot process it. Just sneeze.
know why it happens. But maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's some sort of thing like that. I've also found a few other things, like there's some sort of like really rare yet slightly documented situation where like people can like sneeze whenever they become aroused or something, and that's like definitely weird. And like, I mean, come to think of it now, like as I'm recording this, the sneeze fetish thing kind of does make a little bit of sense then, doesn't it? Listen, okay, whatever it is, all right, I don't really know, all right, but I couldn't really find any documented cases about anyone experiencing this exactly, whatever I'm experiencing. Probably no one is going to relate, but like, I'm curious, okay? I genuinely have no explanation or anything for this, so the moral of the story is, try your best to sneeze into your elbow and not your hand, I guess, okay? I don't freaking know. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to talk about. So I am going to mention really quickly, I do have a Discord server, link in the description, just to hang out, bro. It'll be a blast, come on. Additionally, take a look here, we got some fan art. Whoa, look at that, dude. People just keep on drawing stuff of me, and it's wild, okay? It's been like a number of weeks since people started drawing fan art of me, but it's still like really scary to see. But anyway, though, it's raining outside, so I hope like that doesn't get picked up in the recording. It probably will. Whatever. Anyways, though, I'll catch you guys in the next one. So yeah, bye.
There goes.
Games novos e nostálgicos são da loja Nova Era. Link na descrição. Meu livro de fantasia 100% original está em pré-venda. Reserve a bucha do guarda-chuva agora mesmo. Link na descrição. Beleza, eu sou violento. E quando é a hora de desistir de esperar por uma sequência ou remasterização, remake de um jogo que você gosta. Eu sempre vejo comentário do canal vocês pedindo alguma novidade de alguma franquia que vocês curtem. Nas redes sociais também é a mesma coisa. Tem franquias que já estão aí há décadas sem novidade e o pessoal continua esperando. Não desistem nunca. São brasileiros mesmo. Não esquecem. Um exemplo bem tranquilo é Devil May Cry. O último jogo Devil May Cry 5 fez um baita sucesso. Arrebatou muitos fãs e a gente sempre tá vendo coisa sobre o jogo. Porque ele fica aí promoção na página da Steam, alguém faz algum meme, o próprio Verbo Notícias diz que a gente fez uma camiseta escrevendo o nome dele errado. Então nem parece que faz tanto tempo assim que saiu o jogo deles, né? Errado. Então nem parece que faz tanto tempo assim que saiu o jogo deles, né? Faz 7 anos. O jogo saiu em 2019. Se fosse uma criança nascida naquele ano, agora estaria alfabetizada. Mas a verdade, duvido que seja uma franquia abandonada. Inclusive, eu acredito que em breve vamos ter um jogo novo. Olha a esperança aqui, vamos postar aqui. Aposto uma bala 7 dedos. E ano que vem, 2027, vamos ter Devil May Cry novo. Tem mais uns casos recorrentes aí que eu queria comentar. Eu nem vou falar dos ultra famosos que já pegaram meme, como Half-Life, Chrono Trigger, Dino Crisis. Apesar que Chrono Trigger, eu acho que eles vai fazer algum remake logo. Já os outros dois, eu duvido. Mas enfim, os dois primeiros são jogos da Rockstar. Quando eles estavam experimentando algumas coisas diferentes de só fazer GTA. Eles lançaram Red Dead, que fez um sucesso enorme, ganhou uma sequência, mas outros jogos daquele período ficaram só no primeiro jogo mesmo. O Bunny, que é o que a galera do PlayStation 2 vai lembrar com mais saudade. Ele foi lançado pro PlayStation 2 em 2006, mas já tinha orgulho naquela época. 20 anos atrás. Uma pessoa nascida nesse ano, hoje já tá vendo que fazia azul na faculdade, xingando os outros por causa do Twitter. Mas eu que sou mais velho, lembro bem da alegria que foi molecada quando saiu esse jogo. E era um negócio muito diferente. A molecada podia fazer altas bagunças na escola e muita coisa assim, seria condenável. Como ver as garotas do banheiro, pegar gordinhas, se bem que a gente jogava com os mocinhos da história, né? Então fazia tantas coisas. Mas tinha assim no jogo. Ele foi tão controverso que até o nome dele gerou polêmica na época. E até hoje, só de falar do jogo, às vezes a gente acaba tendo o vídeo desmonetizado aqui no YouTube. Ele ganhou uma versão nova em 2016, 10 anos depois, para o PlayStation 4 e para os celulares também. Só que essa versão nova não contava com alguns conteúdos adicionais que o jogo ganhou quando recebeu o porte para o Xbox 360 e para o PC. Tem compensação em lugar aquelas versões, então tem gente que gosta e tem gente que não gosta. Mas de qualquer forma, fizeram até hoje que a Rockstar faça um novo Bunny. Ou então pelo menos que faça um remake do clássico. Mas mano, um remake do Bunny, imagina gastar uma grana refazendo o jogo com um monte de piada lá de 20 anos atrás. É a coisa que outra geração dá risada, sabe? Eles vão fazer um jogo novo nas escolas modernas, do jeito que tá hoje em dia. Imagina, vai chegar um valedão, provocar um mais fraquinho lá, em vez da pessoa que entendeu o fraquinho, cair na porrada, vai começar a palestra, começa a questão. Eu acho que não vai ficar bom, não, tá? Deixa quieto o Bunny, é tudo lá da reta. Ele realmente acho que hoje em dia não ia dar certo, não. O L.A. Noir é um caso um pouco mais complicado, tá? Eu acho que a Rockstar tem um pouco de trauma desse jogo, porque o estúdio que fez ele, talvez vocês não se lembrem, mas foi a equipe Bounty, eles receberam várias acusações muito pesadas de crunch dos desenvolvedores que estavam fazendo ele. Hoje em dia era costume aparecer acusações desse tipo dos estúdios, mas naquela época não era, um bafafá tremendo mesmo em cima da produção do L.A. Noir. Ele foi lançado em 2011, 15 anos atrás. Imagina, o Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim tava saindo daquele ano pela primeira vez, e eu acho que ele é um jogo que combina mais com os tempos de hoje do que com os tempos lá de quando ele saiu, porque apesar de ele ter uma cara de GTA, só que lá na década de 1940, ele era bem mais parado do que os outros jogos da Rockstar, não tinha tanto tiroteio, não dava pra pegar os outros com os carros, e a ideia era fazer investigação mesmo, conversar com as pessoas e tentar descobrir se estavam mentindo ou não, pelas questões faciais dos NPCs que na época eram muito avançadas. Na minha opinião, a Rockstar não investe em outro L.A. Noir porque ele tem um apelo muito fraco para multiplayer, e mesmo pra single player, ele tem a campanha lá que fica maneira, mas não tem muitas coisas adicionais pra fazer no jogo, como a gente tem, por exemplo, no Red Dead Redemption, tem várias atividades, milhões de atividades que a gente pode fazer no offline. A gente vai colocar detetive, ficar olhando florzinha, acho que não dá. Esses dois Rockstar, então não acredito que a gente vai ter alguma notícia dessa geração. Aí temos o primeiro lado da Sony, que é a série Infamous, que nunca foi a principal da Sony, né, mas a galera que veio pro PlayStation 3, pro PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, e eu sou um desses também, né, adora essa série, que é um jogo de mundo aberto, horizontal e vertical, com muita exploração por cima dos prédios, pancadaria com poder, estilo bem quadrinho mesmo, histórias em quadrinhos, e é um jogo de super-herói, super vilão, antes ainda daquela moda dos filmes da Marvel. Era impressionante pra caramba. E os jogos tinham apelo. O primeiro chamou atenção por ser novidade. O segundo, ele reformulou tudo que tinha primeiro, a jogabilidade, mas vendeu pra caramba. Todo mundo falava, todo mundo poderia sair. Aí teve o First Light, que foi um jogo menor da série, que não conta, e o Second Son, que daí sim era a sequência do PlayStation 4, e é considerado o melhor jogo da série. Tipo, o Infamous atingiu lá a maturidade dele, que aconteceu com isso foi em 2014, 12 anos atrás. Eu acho que a Elsa Frozen foi lá e congelou a franquia Infamous, e ele nunca mais teve novidade. Mas aí vem a parte curiosa, o estúdio Sucker Punch, que fazia o Infamous, foi a mesma coisa. A série Ghost of primeiro teve Ghost of Tsushima, depois Ghost of Yotei. Também séries super aclamadas, então não dá pra dizer que o estúdio está sendo desperdiçado. Então, vai ter toda hora aparece algum rumor de que a Sony vai ressuscitar de alguma forma a franquia, ou vai lançar um remaster, ou vai lançar um remake, e nunca aparece nada. Vamos ver se dessa vez vai. Mas eu acho que na remaster, nos dias de hoje, os cenários do Infamous são bem simples, as mecânicas também são bem simples. Então eu acho que a galera vai zoar, sabe? Vai opinar o jogo se eles lançarem, né, do jeito que era antigamente, só com os gráficos melhorados. Eles estão naquela posição, ou faz muito efeito, ou é melhor nem lançar. E ainda com a dificuldade que o estúdio que faz o jogo tá ocupado com outra coisa. Aí a gente tem um caso assim de, viu? E aí o pessoal esperando um novo Prince of Persia. Não, mas não tem negócio, eu quero falando Prince of Persia estilo 3D. Aqueles que lá no PlayStation 2 tiveram coisinhas na sétima geração também. Só que é mais novo pode não saber, mas tem um pessoal que é aficionado desses jogos de Prince of Persia. O último jogo, The Forgotten Sands, saiu em 2010, 16 anos atrás. Sabe qual é o hit do momento daquele ano, baby? Do Justin Bieber. Baby. Oh! E esse Prince of Persia 3D tem um agravante brabo pra sua volta, porque o que a Ubisoft tá fazendo no lugar dele é Assassin's Creed. Isso aí, a Ubisoft praticamente trocou o Prince of Persia por Assassin's Creed, que tem uma jogabilidade, uma ideia parecida, né? Mas o Prince of Persia e Assassin's Creed tem muito mais Prince of Persia, muito mais. Apesar que Assassin's Creed mudou pra caramba. Esses últimos que saíram já eram bem mais RPG, não tinham tanta mobilidade quanto tinha antes. Por ainda mais, já não é mais foco do jogo. Então eu até vejo uma possibilidade da franquia Prince of Persia, lugar, né? Pra franquia Prince of Persia voltar pro 3D, mas isso não vai acontecer. Por quê? Porque eles estavam desenvolvendo um remake do Sands Dying. Eles anunciaram o jogo, um monte de gente ficou feliz esperando, 6 anos depois, sei lá. Quem ainda tem alguma esperança de ver o Prince of Persia 3D, ó, é guerreiro, que é guerreiro mesmo. E tem os nintendistas também, isso aí eles conseguiram, né? Ressuscitar uma franquia recentemente, que Xbox fazia 10 anos, e não recebia jogo bom, anunciaram um jogo novo. Agora a esperança é que eles ressuscitem também F0. O último jogo da série foi F0, que de 2004 para o GTA. Mas como era a portátil, o pessoal considera o último jogo mesmo, né? Do F0 que saiu pra GameCube, foi o F0 GX em 2010. Imagina, de 2010, Evanescence ainda tocava na rádio e na MTV. Existia rádio e MTV ainda. Eu não sei qual é o problema da Nintendo com F0, mas eu tenho impressão que eles não gostam dessa franquia. Mas bom, vai deixar a franquia 22 anos na geladeira. Eu acho que não é nem impressão, eles realmente não gostam de F0. Apesar que em 2023, 3 anos atrás, eles lançaram
lançaram um F0 novo, né? Que não era nem lançar nem novo exatamente, mas foi uma ideia legal aí pra pensar. A temperatura da franquia para um possível retorno, que foi o F0 99, um jogo gratuito para os serviços online do Nintendo Switch, que é um Battle Royale inspirado no F0 primeiro lá de Super Nintendo. Não tava levando carrinhos, uma corrida, eles explodindo e saindo até que só sobrasse um. Não tava mais pra ninguém, algo experimental, né? Então o pessoal considerou assim uma volta de verdade do F0. Mas um monte disso aí, né? De alguma forma a Nintendo lembrou que ele existia. Mas a gente tá numa geração que qualquer coisa que a Nintendo lança vende pelo menos 1 milhão de cópias. Então é muito favorável pra eles retentar essas franquias antigas, porque independente da quantidade de fãs, mas pelo menos 1 milhão de cópias no F0 iria vender hoje. E, pô, a gente tem cópias aí, e o último aqui da lista foi, na verdade, o jogo que me motivou a fazer esse vídeo. Me motivou porque eu não aguento mais o pessoal pedindo Bloodborne 2, Bloodborne Remake, Bloodborne Remaster, Bloodborne pra PC, Bloodborne pra puta que pariu, em qualquer lugar, velho. O tanto que é Bloodborne. Eu não aguento mais. Isso que eu só tô vendo o pessoal postando na internet. Imagina o Miyazaki, que deve estar aí todo dia.
Just gotta move instead, bro. It's reject acceptable.
Legal quando os Dark Souls, falando era muito fácil também, né? Vi os comentários, mas iam jogar, iam se meter naquele mundo, naquela experiência e ficar doidaços por Bloodborne. Isso só tiveram vários e vários jogos. Eu não vejo nenhum deles uma banda tão fanática mesmo quanto o pessoal do Bloodborne. Mas por que será? Será que é porque fizeram só o Bloodborne e nunca fizeram a sequência? Porque esse jogo tá preso no PlayStation 4, não recebeu remasterização da hora, no PlayStation 5, nem uma versão pra PC, que tem gente maluca pra ver esse jogo rodando no PC. Eu acho que é por isso mesmo, porque, por exemplo, o Sekiro, que é um jogo bom pra caramba, mais ou menos o mesmo nível do Bloodborne, eu acho que tá bem pau em qualidade, mas o 2, ele não tem essa banda toda, afinal ele foi lançado pra outras plataformas, mas exclusivo do PlayStation 4. Todo mundo quis jogar e tinha alguma plataforma a qual conseguiu jogar e não criou essa aura mística em torno do jogo. Mas quem tá esperando alguma novidade do Bloodborne, realmente tá difícil coisa, porque o Hidetaka Miyazaki, que é o diretor do jogo, falou que não quer saber de outro estúdio metendo a mão nele, fazendo um remake, alguma coisa assim, e que só iria fazer se o próprio time dele tivesse supervisionando, mas eles não iriam fazer isso porque eles estão ocupados com outras coisas. E mesmo se ele não tivesse esse problema, tinha um estúdio aí que fez um remake muito massa do Dark Souls para as plataformas modernas, do PlayStation 5, e que poderia nesse exato momento estar fazendo remake de Bloodborne para o PlayStation 5 também, sabe, lançar para PC. Olha só, a Sony fechou esse estúdio lá no Point. Ah, mas lançar para PC, aí o negócio é com a Sony, e aparentemente eles não estão afim, não. Pois é, inclusive tiveram as especulações de que a Sony não iria mais lançar jogos de um jogador para os PCs, e isso é também possível, Bloodborne. Então tudo é notícia, tudo é novidade, a gente nem soube Bloodborne, indica que não vai ter nada de novidade no futuro nosso. Mas a esperança é que alguma pessoa pelo menos faça um remaster do jogo para o PlayStation 5, deixando ele 4K, CPS, aquela coisinha toda. É tudo que os fãs estão pedindo? Não, mas é o suficiente para os fãs pararem de encher o saco da Sony lá pedindo coisas do Bloodborne. Eu sei que jogo ou franquia antiga você gostaria de ver ressuscitando nesses dias atuais. Você não perde a esperança de ver um remaster, um remake ou mesmo uma continuação, reboot, alguma coisa. Mas eu queria ir para essa esperança já foi anunciado, que é o Purple Light. Mas quero saber de vocês também, deixa eu comentar para nós. Não se esqueça de clicar você fortalecer o nosso trabalho, se inscrever aqui, inscreva-se para acompanhar os lançamentos. Estamos aqui, nos vemos no próximo vídeo. Falou!
And it broke.
I worked with someone once who had a BDSM kink. He's now divorced. As he sort of shared this with his wife, she was not able to, he is a feminist, but she was not able to separate out that this is a healthy expression of a consensual relationship from this is like misogynistic, hateful stuff towards women. She was not able to separate those two things out. Even the fact that he asked was like too much for her. And she started seeing him in a particular light. She was like, oh my God, I can't believe you've been hiding this from me. I can't believe that, you know, you really are this way and that you've been lying. You've been like, you know, like I can't be married to someone who would degrade women in this way. And that's not really what it was for him. I think he was genuinely a pretty feminist dude. Arguably, maybe he wasn't, and there's some reaction formation and things like that, so things get a bit complicated there, but like that is a challenge, right? So I think this is where healthy communication is a prerequisite for broaching these kinds of subjects. And then for people to really understand that, like, okay, the associations that you have with the fetish may not be true, right? Just because we tie these things together, there are all kinds of reasons why you may find this arousing that don't have anything to do with your political affiliations or your beliefs about capitalism versus communism or anything like that, right? Which oftentimes things get muddled, right? Yeah, I'm into free society and free love, and I'm an anarcho-sexualist, which means I get to put my penis wherever I feel like. And like I think there's some associations there that I think are totally fine, like in terms of, you know, there's a certain philosophy that you can have for life. A philosophy that you have in life can find itself in sexual expression. But I think basically you've got to have conversations about it, and you've got to really, here's the most important thing, pay attention empathically to someone's response, right? How are they receiving this?
To pay this guy out. Sucks.
We see a vast star field, there's a loud bang, an implosion. All the life is getting sucked into this massive black hole, and it grows bigger and bigger. The idea that I had initially was, what if this was an avalanche that gets kicked off, and you have all these forest creatures that are running away from it, and we're just caught in the middle of this action? We begin in outer space. We have this beautiful ice belt that is this coral reef-like environment with lots of different creatures. It's something that we should look at like, I could live there.
We try to push it more in a watercolor direction and not plaster everything with brushstrokes. A lot of it is more soft, more broken edges, more gloomy.
Vivian, the art director, she's really good at watercolor. I wanted to use that talent because watercolor lends itself to making space and abstract shapes really well. Before this project happened, we were working on Project Gold with this oil painting style. Simon came up with the brushstroke tools add-on, and we came up with all these methodologies of breaking down a painted look and depicting it in Blender.
The fun thing about this topic was that we actually didn't really change much about the brushstroke tools.
We knew we wanted to try kind of a lean production to make it as easy as possible on the team, both studio and development. So trying to talk about technical aspects as early as possible to not have so many unknowns.
Well, death threats again, bro.
With this oil painting style. Simon came up with the brushstroke tools add-on, and we came up with all these methodologies of breaking down a painted look and depicting it in Blender.
The fun thing about this topic was that we actually didn't really change much about the brushstroke tools.
We knew we wanted to try kind of a lean production to make it as easy as possible on the team, both studio and development. So trying to talk about technical aspects as early as possible to not have so many unknowns, launching into R&D and wondering about how things would look like.
We can really benefit from having all that work done beforehand and just pick up from there and use the tools as they are.
The way that we're using the brushstroke tools is more as an additional layer on top of everything to give it a bit more depth, but the main weight lifting is being done by the shading.
Getting the right sense of scale was definitely tricky. Seeing that it actually looks like ice and not like space potatoes. Getting that feeling of cold, even though it's meant to be like a cozy place for the creatures. When Andy iterated over them for a long time, I think that really helped push it even more into an authentic direction.
And we need Critter. Critter is supposed to be this really friendly, cuddly-looking creature. I think at some point Vivian made this big sheet of potential ideas for Critter, like a cross between a water bear, a shrimp, and an axolotl.
That was early on one of the animals that Andy wanted to reference. We also had to figure out how he grabs things, so I think that's where the tardigrade hands came from.
There was something that we heard from early on in the concept that the creatures were meant to be see-through, with Critter especially.
Yeah, I thought that would be a cool way to take Critter's point of view if you can even see his eyes through the back of his head.
The biggest challenge with the character shading was to find the right balance between the transmission and making the characters feel translucent. One of the things that I did was to have some parallax in the texture, so it basically looks a little bit like you can look inside of the character where the texture shifts around depending on your view angle, which makes it look like there's a little bit of detail in depth within the character rather than just on top of the surface.
The more difficult problem was how the eyelids actually connect to the rest of the face. Critter is basically like a soft gummy bear. All the shapes just smoothly transition into each other. It's very blobby, and the eyelids had like this very harsh transition into the head.
So in the end, we had to pull down his eyelid, consisting of very few tightly packed edges. I had to make sure that they pull down nice and cleanly and evenly over the eyelid and they don't clip into it. Fun fact though, Critter cannot wink. His eyes are so big and they clip into each other that he doesn't really have two separate eyelids, he just has a unit eyelid.
We had to model the inner body. There's a spine, lungs, a heart, a brain, a bunch of weird little tubes and veins going around in his body.
That is mostly cut from the movie, even though you get a little bit of a sense of what's inside and you see when the glowing food disappears into him.
All the creatures are powered by this energy that is inherent to everything. These little moss particles, kind of space fungi on the ice field, that's what Critter lives off. The yellow lines were really something that Vivian came up with as a design motif for all the creatures.
And early on defined that everything that is creating motion in the creatures is highlighted in some way, and I think the yellow racing stripe made that very clear. Then purple was a good counterpart and had this deep sea photography kind of vibe. We mostly referenced deep sea creatures, which are very weird. They swim in the strangest ways.
The deep oceans are as alien to us as the rest of the universe, and it's crazy that we live so close to that.
There was also spookier references, but those were kind of cut out, so we're left with the cuter stuff.
We had a pretty big selection of creatures, and we had very little time to make the models for it. We just thought, okay, we can keep it simple. Some of them have wings or some limbs, they just need to rotate. They have no other way of emoting. For the purpose of having them in the background, that's perfectly fine.
I think we had the luxury of knocking out a few of them that I thought were too complex.
We wanted to have them easily riggable and animatable.
I tried to avoid the ones with too many eyeballs and the ones that had big flat surfaces that need a cloth-like behavior, which would be effort.
But we still ended up putting centipedes in there and creatures that have many eyeballs. Just like with Critter, the shapes of the characters are pretty blobby and smooth. We made the ice rocks very brown, then you have something to oppose it that's very harsh and unnatural looking, and that's the black hole that opens in space, and all the creatures flee for their life.
The look of the black hole was mainly influenced by the very early paintings that Andy did. They look a little bit too much like fireworks, so we reduced that. It became more purple, more doomy and gloomy.
For the stars getting sucked into the black hole, that was something that Andy already mocked up, and then I took it over at some point, taking the star brushstrokes and dragging them out, making them longer. As everything approaches that border of the black hole, everything gets pulled into it. The same thing needs to happen also for the background, which was a mix of layering of watercolor textures and some vertex color. If you've ever seen tardigrades swim, it's absolutely hilarious. They rudder with their arms around, but they're not really effective. Critter was supposed to channel that in a way.
We had to come up with rules of physicality where we want these creatures to propel themselves in space. So you try and pick and choose elements from familiar places, and one that is closest to space is motion underwater.
We have a character that is inherently going to be animated on twos, so every other frame is going to receive a new pose. And then at the same time, the camera is moving on ones, but when they push themselves towards another asteroid, on the way there, that also has to be on ones, and the asteroid itself is moving on one. So at some point, he lands on the asteroid and starts being animated on twos. And as he's being animated on this hunk of rock, that rock keeps moving. Then he pushes himself off, he has his own trajectory, and now he's attaching himself to a different rock, and that has the same implications. There were two modes of swimming for them. They were not supposed to be the most agile creature, but at some point in the story, they get energized and turn into this torpedo.
Publico asked for a reverse spine FK chain where he's able to rotate the character from the neck down. So you rotate motion at the neck and it moves his chest, which moves his butt. The reverse FK was used for the shots where Critter is swimming kind of like a, not like a fish, but like a, what creature swim like that?
Snakes with rocket packs, we call it.
The reverse FK was used later on in the film when Critter is a bit more confident and he gets the energy from the big squid creature. They told me to push it, so I did push it. He's being pulled by the singularity, so he's swimming and then he's been sapped with energy and then he's like...
We call our giant jellyfish one. The jellyfish is this mysterious creature. They have powers that go further than any other creatures. I always thought it was a cross between an octopus, a jellyfish.
And he kept saying tree, tree, tree. He's got these big flower petals on the insides of the jellyfish dome.
Our original goal was to have him basically be sized like a small moon, which is insane. We had to size him down significantly, then through camera tricks, trying to make him appear bigger than he actually is.
Also because of the size. One was heavily leaning into using procedural modeling more to give a lot of those details, especially under animation, because all these little bits and pieces were supposed to flutter and move around.
There are, in general, a lot of repeating design patterns over the entire character. The eye region under the cat is the only place where I actually sculpted the area in more detail and then baked that down into vector displacement maps. With the eyeballs, it's funny because we basically just made one, and the rest are just instances scattered across the entire eyeball region.
The animators wouldn't want to manually go into every shot and animate all the eyeballs open and closed. So what we actually did was, in those few shots where it's actually relevant to have manual control over some specific eyeballs, we replaced them with actual rigs that the animators could control 100%. For the rest, we used a setup with geometry nodes that would instantiate an eyeball all over the place.
If you look at a real-life jellyfish, you will quickly notice the complexity of motion that's going on. For the tentacles, we did animate them by hand. However, we requested a dynamic modifier on top of our animation where we could use an advanced wave deformer that would give us a lot of dynamic control over the tentacles.
There's like some shots, it was like a wave animation that was right there, but you animate over it.
C1 did more localized deformation where the edges of the tentacles and tendrils were moving individually as well.
They have controllers, so if you want to have like a big waves, then you can do it by yourself. And if you want to have like a staying in place kind of animation that is just like waving a bit, that was texture simulation power.
So the tendril effects were something that took a while to get right. It had a lot of different layers that were working together. The tendrils basically always emit this energy cloud that the creatures would feed off of. There was an element of having this pulse throughout the character in a way where there's a rhythm to it. It would kind of flow through the tendrils as the characters pass by and then cascade, having the lightnings between the creatures. We also had the arcs connecting them, and in some shots it was necessary to have a lot more manual control over how that looks. There we actually had a setup with grease pencil so that the animators could hand animate the arcs directly.
You basically draw a line and it creates this electricity looking effect, and being able to copy paste it and then quickly adjust to the new thing that you're using so you can always piggyback on what you already did. Then every single frame, one frame at a time, figuring out where is this surge of electricity heading and what are the points that it's attaching itself to.
Right after one has been hit by the sunbeam, Critter is being sucked back towards the black hole, and then all of these other creatures are coming in and they need to interact with each other. It was challenging for multiple reasons. Not only were there 8 to 10 characters that I had to work with, but also making sure that each one of these characters are choreographed nicely so it works with the composition.
We knew we were going to have a lot of creatures flying around, and we knew that those would have to work on different levels of detail. For that, I made a setup that the animators could create just a curve in 3D, then have a parameter to animate a creature along it, also deforming to it.
For the creatures in the back, we animated some swimming cycles. Later we could put them into the path, and then you just have to define how they want to go and speed up. You could switch between the different creatures and automatically was applying the swimming cycle from the original file.
You could just easily control the radius of the curve and the tilt to create some more complex movement. The creature blob that is seen towards the end of the movie with all the creatures banding together was very much leaning on using the same effects as the tendril energy, but there were some additional challenges. It was really the pinnacle of the creature energy that we see in film, so there had to be some small effects here and there to boost the amount of energy that we kind of see on screen. There were some Reese pencil lines that I drew in little particle effects that then were scattered around the geometry nodes, some additional effects based on the volume and the arcs that we had.
So Dario Vero, his scores are very classical, very deep and very emotional. The first treatment I did was kind of atmospheric. I needed something that brings it from this indie bedroom producer thing into something that fits the scope of the film. I thought it would be really good to have an orchestral score with a real orchestra that really took all of our imagery and managed to just elevate it and make it more grandiose than we could ever hope for. Working with Sander in general, it's so good. He taps exactly into the brief and he finds something that fits the imagery. In most cases, the first thing that he picks is like, yeah, perfect. The idea with Singularity is that we would not only do a 5.1 mix, of course a stereo version, but we would also do an Atmos mix. It's basically many speakers and many subwoofers firing at you and giving you the deepest immersive experience. You can hear a sound traveling past you and something behind you. If you compare it to 5.1, it's as if you're going from mono to stereo. It's incredible. Enough commercial. What we're always doing here is making open movies.
Working on an open production means sharing things with the community every day, every week. It means that we want to share everything we do, the steps, the trial and errors, and also events.
You get ready for the next 2 years later short Singularity. You've really created a magical universe. We're trying to really push the envelope of what is possible in Denver.
Amazing team did a lot of tooling also to make everything painterly.
We share everything on our studio website, so everything's available.
Once again, thank you so much for the studio.
Also, something that's very specific about an open project is that we share all the files at the end, and so we actually need clean files, which you don't care about once you've done a project, but it's not the case at the Blender Studio. The shorts will be packaged.
It's good to have a cross-section of how the film was made so people can download the files themselves and see how the characters are animated or how the effects were made, how the geometry node setups look like. They can hopefully learn something from it.
Making movies at Blender Studio is always a small team doing our best with the ideas that we have to read that what a small team can do when they're focused and motivated, and that you trust them to make sure that they are on track, but they also have the autonomy and the freedom necessary to really flourish. I hope that people who watch the movie, they see how much love and care and fun was poured into it.
People can get all that knowledge and assets on studio.blender.org.
If only I had passion for anything these days. Wow. Anything. What the fuck?
This is one impressive collection.
So guys, at my friend's house, look at these look at house stat. Oh my god, Austria one is so cute. Oh my gosh, keychains and France. This is so cute. I wish I had this when I went to Amsterdam. This is Holland. Look at this monkeys. Oh, Baltimore has this. That's so fun. I go to Peru. Open. I have it. Sneaky feeling is open. China, Japan. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, I need a fridge like this.
Yes. Almost there. I'll just drop some stuff in here. Almost 1 hour. It'd be exactly 1 hour if I didn't have to just deal with those threats that come once every couple months, only to not amount to anything.
Criticism of something can sometimes become more annoying than the thing itself. Today we're going to be talking about culture because things are changing. Things ain't the way they used to be no more. People started to recognize that after 2020 there was some shift where nerdy topics suddenly became cool, mainstream, and trendy. I heard it get called the great switch up or great shift on TikTok. Things you get bullied for liking just 10 years ago, video games, anime, alternative music, that now is pop culture. Whereas before it lived kind of on the fringes. These are strange times. For example, I was on Tinder last night because I'm a chud, and I saw somebody's profile say swipe right if you've heard of FNAF, which was absolutely baffling to me because back in 2014 I got called a furry and loser for loving that series by everybody in my school. But now it's literally everywhere and everyone on earth knows about it. I can't escape it. I go into a Walmart and a GameStop in my mall and it's Five Nights at Freddy's everywhere in the vicinity. I'm not really sure why this is. The pandemic forcing people to be inside and congregate online could have something to do with this. But whatever the case, the general populace and I guess normies for lack of a better term have gone back and given older geeky media a second chance. The person who bullied you for liking anime in 2014 now reps an Attack on Titan shirt.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we? Merry Christmas, everybody.
I now see new generations of normie types collecting old video games, old consoles, old movies, and old media. I never imagined I'd see the day where Nightcore, anime, creepypasta, and video games were things people were gonna brag about being into. To the point where you do get bullied if you don't know the latest like analog horror thing or whatever. But nonetheless, here we are. Maybe it's because everybody's sick of the corporatism, minimalism, and slop content. They want to go back to a time when effort was put into the look and feel of things. It was all more human, and when everything was better for the consumer. Collecting physical media from back then when you could actually own your own games and movies without having to pay bullshit subscription fees. Also, culture recently has been really retrospective. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but it's not as innovative. And it feels like everything I see is just nostalgia posting. Every other TikTok and video essay is remember this trend. What happened to this old YouTuber? And all these companies trying to take advantage of the nostalgia bait without knowing why their old branding was popular in the first place. Everyone's so focused on the past rather than the future. And truth be told, in a lot of ways, the future does seem kind of bleak. Due to this phenomenon, you now have people who pretend to be geeks and OG nerds to fit in with the trend. The people who tout that I was there before it was cool when they really weren't. AKA LARPers. LARP means live action roleplay, like those people who go and play D&D or set up a Renaissance fair where they dress up in medieval garb and fight with swords and stuff like that. The insinuation is that by pretending to be something you never were, you're role-playing as though you were an OG nerd from back in the day. These people who do that for the trend are annoying. They act as though they were weebos or gamers from way back when. Yeah, they would have probably made fun of those things 10 years ago. Yeah, those people suck and are LARPers. The LARPers have caused legitimate problems. When they go to buy consoles just to be performative, that jacks up the price for people who really want to get into those things. I was never too into pierce the veil much, but it really is bullshit that there will be quote-unquote fans who buy out seats at concerts from real fans only to know the TikTok part of the song, the looping chorus that's popular on TikTok, and they fail to know any other lyrics from the songs. Yeah, that does really suck. And if you are looking for someone with a similar background, friends who were OG nerds and are not trend followers, it can be more difficult now with the LARPers. However, this whole trend of calling out LARPing has gone way too far. I've seen countless
those comments or TikToks and Reels calling anybody a LARPer who shows any collection of old tech, any interest in anime, or if they're talking about something geeky, wearing a cosplay, sharing their interest in 2000s media, etc. Just look at how many gifs there are on Instagram calling out LARP, no limit to the LARP, LARP king. If I only saw these comments on posts where somebody's actually a fake nerd, say someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, fine, whatever. But I see these people comment on every post under the sun. These people catch wind of anything even remotely nerdy and it's all LARPville. I've actually gotten that comment a few times before. In a recent video I called Spike Factories from BTD Needle Factories. I've been calling spikes in the game needles since I was like 8 and it's just always stuck with me. I don't really know why. But the more egregious one is Five Nights at Freddy's, where I got called a LARPer because I dare to think the security breach is actually good. I'm not gonna lay out the reasons why, as I've done so like a million times, but I'm gonna show these chopped ass photos of me from 2015 now because I have to. I mentioned in many of my videos that Ninjago has been my favorite show since I was a kid. I bring it up a lot actually, how I'm such an OG in Ninjago because I feel like I have to, or else I'm just gonna get called a LARPer for daring to like Dragon's Rising, even though it's objectively as amazing and good as Ninjago. It's genuinely crazy. It gets really annoying because you're starting to gatekeep shit and push away people from finding genuinely interesting media that they might enjoy. My sibling was born in 2008. They just turned 18 recently. They really enjoy media from the 2000s gaming and internet culture, the edge that it had, the art. So for their birthday I bought them a PSP and I loaded it with classics from that era. You know, Kingdom Hearts, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy, Persona, Silent Hill, God of War, all that. I shit you not, a week after I bought it, I got a metric ton of videos in my feed saying, "Dog, you bought a PSP in 2026, you're a LARPer. You're a LARPer, LARPer, you were never there. Everyone who buys a PSP never plays it. LARP, 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 Sahur. If you don't buy a Vita instead, you're a LARPer." And all these comments were agreeing with those videos. It's like if these LARP tards, which is what I'm gonna call them from now on, I just came up with that right now, that's fucking genius, catch wind of a PSP for even a microsecond, the sleeper agent spawns from out of nowhere inside of them to spam LARP. So now I gotta worry about my sibling being called a LARPer because I dared to buy them something cool and introduce them to games and media from my generation. Like, calm the fuck down, dude. It's not that serious. I hope all these people realize one day how silly it is to say, "Yeah, you're not allowed to like this thing because you weren't there 15 years ago." As if there's a window of time for when you could like something. Like, my sibling was an infant when PSPs were a thing, so what, new generations are not allowed to like something because they weren't there back in the day? That's fucking retarded. All you're doing is pushing people away. Now,
there's a line, of course. If that's too much, just posing yourself on social media. Too much. To the point it becomes obnoxious. It's just, yeah. I don't know. Yes, yeah.
I get where it's all coming from. It's coming from a place of deep-seated resentment, and I fully understand that. Now let me explain. I was a turbo nerd growing up. I was balls deep into things like Nintendo, internet horror, creepypasta, internet rave music, nightcore, you know, happy hardcore, Eurodance, things like that. Roblox, Minecraft, Flash games, Five Nights at Freddy's, anime, you name it. If it was something weird, I was probably into it. Except for furries. I've never been a furry. Just throwing that one out there, I guess. I was a power user of Amino from 2015 until the day it died. Anywho, I was given as much shit as everyone else in that era was who liked that kind of media that I was into. I never really felt ashamed of liking those things, but it wasn't fun to get constantly teased for it. Like, I had this awesome Bowser Shell backpack in school, and some asshole started telling people that I was watching Mario porn and things like that. The real question is, how did they know? It's terrible. I did no such thing. But shit like that happened all the time where I draw creepypastas and I was a weeb. I don't know what the connection is there. Creepypasta has nothing to do with anime, but whatever. I played Nintendo and I was a nerd. I liked Nightcore and it was gay. That was the big one back in the day that they default to was gay, gay. Literally a homosexual because I was a big fan of Bleach, which is a little homosexual to be fair. I mean, there's some tension between Ichigo and Renji. You know what? I ship it. So anyway, after 2020, when all these things like gaming and anime became mainstream, I was a little upset. I had the mindset of I had to be bullied for something so that you guys get to enjoy it now. That's not fair. Oh, what? So now that stuff is cool? Now that I'm not a vulnerable kid anymore? Now that I'm an adult? That's when it's suddenly acceptable? Oh, what? So now you want to be able to be into anime and stuff? That was the resentment that I had. But at some point when you get older, you have to decide what kind of old person you're going to be. There's old man A and old man B. Old man A has the mindset of I suffered so that the new generations don't have to. They adapt with the times. They're open-minded. They like seeing good times because they know how awful bad times get. Someone who's drafted into war so that their grandkids can play Sonic the Hedgehog. The type of person who's happy to see their kids having fun on the game rather than being drafted into the military. That's old man A. Old man B on the other hand is the mindset of I suffered so new generations should suffer too. Unfortunately, the majority of old people end up being in this bitter mindset. They're closed off. They hate everything new even if it's good. They don't care for new generations having good times. In fact, they hate it. They pick it apart and call the youth too soft and kids these days too whiny or too privileged. And they'll always say back in my day men used to go to war. They get mad at their grandkids for playing Sonic the Hedgehog instead of suffering in the trenches because they didn't get to relax and enjoy their time. Don't be like old man B. Be like old man A. I had that realization and said, you know what? It's good that new generations are carrying on obscure internet things that I grew up with. Sure, it's not fair that they're not bullied for it as much, but you know what? I'm happy for them and I should be. They're lucky. Just because I wasn't as lucky doesn't mean I have to be the asshole who takes that away from them. So it's a lot of resentment. It's the old man B inside of you who's getting mad and saying, I had to suffer getting bullied, so now I'm gonna bully you and call you a LARPer, you know, to get even. You become the person who bullied you. For example, I listened to things like recession pop and internet rave music growing up, followed by the whole sad boy rap thing in high school when that was a thing, you know, like Peep, X Juice, the emo rap as people call it. I wasn't into rock music very much until like 2023. And when I got into rock, I found my footing in emo, pop punk, new metal, post-hardcore, a little bit of grunge, or I guess post-grunge as I'm always corrected. I wasn't really there for emo back in the day when it started. I mean, I was a kid back then, but I never really got into that music back in the day. That doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to get into it now. There isn't a window time slot of when you can start liking something. Or at least there shouldn't be. And those people who call everyone and everything a LARPer are creating that window, which is something that a real OG fan wouldn't do. There's three types of people that everyone keeps conflating as two. There are the OGs, the people who liked things back in the day. There are the new gens, not using new gen in a derogatory term, just newer generations, who earnestly and honestly want to get into something old, like collect old tech and old media. Even the older Gen Z people who just couldn't afford to engage with gaming back in the day are trying to catch up on what they missed. So they're new into it and whatever, it's all fine. And then number three, there are the trend followers who would have teased someone over liking Metroid and Legend of Zelda, but now rep a Samus profile picture and repost Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask aesthetics. Those who claim to be OG and don't know what they're talking about. These are the actual LARPers. Like for example, there was this guy I knew who bullied people back in the day for liking anime until 2024 when he set his profile picture to something from Jujutsu Kaisen, I believe. And then acted as though he was actually a weeb from the very beginning. And when we asked what anime he watched besides JJK, the only thing he could cough up was Naruto. That's a LARPer. Even if he earnestly said, hey guys, sorry for teasing you, making fun of you over anime, I've been watching JJK recently, and you know what, I had a change of mind. You guys were right, anime can be pretty cool actually. That could at least suffice. Still a trend follower, but not as bad. These people who go out and call everything LARP don't realize that they're just incentivizing people to go ahead and LARP. Like think about it, if you're out there berating somebody for liking something now and not back then, they'll just feel compelled to lie to you and act as though they were OG into it because admitting that you're a fresh fan comes with that baggage of LARPing accusations. What's really funny is seeing the LARP tards try to gatekeep different kinks. I sound schizo, but I swear this is the thing. I've seen all these posts saying like, I'm an OG in this fetish. You new gens wouldn't understand. You would have gotten bullied for liking this 10 years ago. Like, okay, I didn't even know that kinks had like levels of popularity. You just have sex and that's it. Like what? What's insanely dumb too is that I've seen people want their favorite things to stay unpopular so that they can feel niche. I saw TikTok pointing out different underground artists and some comments said, no, don't be talking about this artist publicly. We need to keep this niche. I saw that was some guy talking about video essays as well, and a comment said, well, we can't let this get popular. Imagine your favorite YouTubers on the brink of making it big and being successful, but his quote unquote fans are begging, no, don't share, keep them small so that I can feel special, so that I can feel like I'm part of the special club and not be considered a normie. If any of you guys have stifled my growth and said, oh, keep Tom's lawyer niche, you are anything but a real fan. And I do think this stems from calling everything LARP. People want their favorite creators to not blow up because then they'll be mainstream and no longer possess elite ball knowledge anymore, and then they'll just get called a normie or LARPer. But it's completely backwards. I don't care how or when you found my channel, if you're an OG or not, if you like my videos and subscribe, that's fucking awesome. I don't really know how to end this video, just don't be a dick. Accusing everybody who likes everything nerdy of being a LARPer is more annoying than the actual trend following LARPers themselves.
Poser. Oh well. Just go outside, get a job. There's nothing wrong about how things are going today.
Alright, so, as you guys can probably tell by just looking at me, I'm Asian and I live in California. However, I was not born here, okay? I actually grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, and I moved here when I was 18. And you know, Boston's a great city. I'm proud that I'm from there, but if you know anything about Boston, it's racist. It's racist as shit. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure when it comes to black NBA players, Boston is like the least favorite city to play. And to put that in perspective, for those of you who don't know the NBA, the Memphis Grizzlies exist, okay? The glorious city of fucking Memphis has a basketball team, and NBA players rather travel there and play basketball than go to Boston, Massachusetts. And if you don't want to believe them, just take it from me, okay? I grew up in the whitest fucking area ever when it comes to Boston, and I went to an all-boys Catholic private school, alright? I played lacrosse, I wore vineyard vines, I didn't even know what that was. I was deep in the shit, okay? I was lost. And you know, I was still Asian while doing all of those things, so, you know, I was definitely subjected to a bunch of fucking Asian jokes. As a matter of fact, my high school's football team actually got into a huge scandal with the news because we played like a predominantly black football team, and our fucking student section was just saying the N-word and yelling slurs and being racist. Regardless, all I'm saying is the fact that, you know, I was really in the field when it comes to this racism shit, okay? I've been there, I've experienced it, I've seen it firsthand, I know about Boston is racist, okay? It's fucking racist. And as a seasoned oppressed minority myself, I can tell you guys right now that not all racism towards all races are not exactly the same, alright? Take me for example. In middle school, I got damn near hate crime like every single, okay, you know, that's a bit of an over-exaggeration. I got racist jokes told to me like all the time in middle school, right? And you know, it was jokes and all that. I wasn't like fucking bullied, but you know, people would be a lot more comfortable making racist jokes about me, an Asian person, than they would to any sort of black person. And these weren't like casual racist jokes either, bro. They weren't even jokes. These motherfuckers would just call me like shit and zipperhead. And it was like the equivalent of calling a black person the N-word. But then when it came to black people, you know, a teacher could mispronounce some dude's name wrong. Next thing you know, there's a fucking like Wakanda themed ceremony in the auditorium. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that racism is more than just segregation, skin color, bad. No, racism is just a fucking trauma contest. Okay, no one cares about your skin color or anything like that. They care about the history behind your skin color and what your people had to go through. That's why when white people experience racism, when they get discriminated for being fucking white, people just don't accept it as racism. Okay, it is the same reason why racism towards Asian people was way less stigmatized until COVID happened. People started literally just attacking Asians for existing. Up until that point, we were the model minority. Okay, we didn't reach like the fucking like trauma threshold we need to have for people to take racism against you actually seriously. Same thing's happening to Mexicans, bro. You know, I feel like it was pretty normalized to, you know, make like illegal immigrant jokes and stuff like that. But ever since Trump won the election, it's just like, you know, don't say that shit. That's fucked up. So basically, what I guess I'm trying to say is that I thought after segregation ended, people kind of caught up. They were like, all right, yeah, segregation is just as bad as slavery and shit. Let's not be racist. You know, black people have had enough. And ever since then, it's kind of just been like treat everyone equally. What I realized is just like how, you know, segregation was a thing, and like people had to realize how fucked up it was. People have to realize how oppressed people really are, and the only way for them to see it is for something traumatic to happen to them, like COVID and Asian hate, or fucking ICE and deporting all the Mexicans. As a matter of fact, dude, a perfect example of this is India right now. Dude, everyone's ripping on Indians. It is like a fucking meme to just make fun of Indians for being ugly and smelling bad. And you know, despite India being a developing country, like they're fucking poor, that's why they smell bad. Nothing traumatic enough has happened to Indian Americans or really Indians anywhere for Americans to be like, what the fuck, and gain the sympathy and respect for Indians to actually find out why they smell bad in the first place. So up until that traumatic event happens where a lot of people get hurt, injured, or die, it's just Indians, they smell bad, You know what I mean? And no one is going to care enough to do anything because racism isn't about skin color, it's about trauma. It's a fucking trauma contest. And that's why racism towards black people has always been taken way more seriously because they went through the most traumatic shit ever. They were fucking slaves, you know, like that, and no one's gonna forget about that. And that's my entire fucking point, which is actually a perfect segue into the next point I want to make, which actually low-key is the same point, but it's the reason I want to make this video. Like I said before, racism is not about skin color, okay? It's about how much trauma your people went through. And that's why when it comes to like the racism totem pole, I guess black people will always be at the top, okay? Their ancestors went through slavery. But remember, like I said before, racism evolves, okay? And just like how Asian hate and Mexican hate has slowly been making its way up totem pole, black people hate has slowly been making its way down. By the way, this is all just shit on the internet that I've seen and observed. Racism is bad, okay? Don't be racist. I'm just saying this shit out. But either way, like I was saying, I feel like the peak of racism was like prime 2020 COVID. Like back when that one girl just got fucking banished off the internet because someone found like a decade-old video of her doing blackface. Yeah, then around that time was when 1, Asian hate was like in its prime. 2, the BLM riots were still going on. 3, cancel culture was also at its peak. And 4, it was like prime lockdown. Okay, everyone was just sitting on their phones with nothing to do. So in other words, basically, there was just a whole bunch of racist shit going on in the world, and everyone was unemployed enough to care, which led to a lot of people getting canceled and a lot of hate for even the most slightly controversial opinion. Okay, this fucking Jenna Marbles chick got canceled and left the internet because a video of her resurfaced from like 10 years ago of her doing blackface. Like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of fucked, but damn, like really 10 years ago. But either way, that was back in 2020. Okay, that was during COVID. All right, fast forward now. Look at the political and racial climate of the fucking world, dude. I sound like fucking Jaden Smith, but like seriously, dude, Indians are getting ripped on left and right. I see a racist black person meme on Instagram every 5 fucking scrolls. As a matter of fact, dude, the Instagram is fucked. Okay, you'll go in the comment section and it'll just be like genuinely well written and like passionate racism in the comments. Dude. Like you'll see people quoting studies about like how black people shouldn't be in the United States. It's wild. And basically what I'm trying to say is like I feel like racism is evolving. I feel like racism against black people has become more and more normalized as time goes on. And you know, I've already talked about like the memes and the videos and shit on social media, but I feel like the most prominent example of this is this guy right here, Chud the Builder. For those of you who don't know who this guy is, he's a streamer, and the best way I describe his content is just like the most pussy way to be racist ever. Basically, he just goes around public and acts like a fucking dick to black people, harasses them, calls them slurs, and then when they actually confront him and try and do something about it, he just ups the knot, he flashes his fucking gun. He also carries like mace and pepper spray, and that's pretty much it, bro. This guy just walks around calling black people slurs and then threatens to shoot them when they fucking press him about it.
I bet you won't follow me my truck. We got ooga booga. Ooh, ah. We got 18 rounds for you. We ain't got nothing else.
Is that not just like the most bitch ass way to be racist? You know, like, if you're gonna be racist, at least like be a man about it, dude. Showing a gun, telling someone the hard R, and then when they run up on you, being like, I'm gonna shoot you. What the fuck kind of shit is that? That's insane. Like, dude, really think about that. Can you imagine some stranger, some random dude just fucking harassing you, insulting you, ripping on you, right? And you're like, what the fuck? What's your issue? So you go up to him, and then he just fucking points a gun at you. What are you? Dude, what a bitch.
Let's not come back over here. Let's not fight. All right, touch me again.
Man, there was a time there was a homeless person. Whenever I had the line, I was just on a fucking train. Just trying to... Yup. TLDR is... Bro started shouting the N-word towards me. Oh well. I'm not even fully black, just, yeah. I didn't even tell him to stop. Somebody else tried to yell back at him to stop. The next thing the guy said was like, Papa, he's white. What the fuck? If I was a homeless person, I couldn't give a shit. If I was a fucking streamer, I don't think I could give enough of a shit as well. They'll probably go even more mad for not interacting with them. I just know I pretend nothing. I'm not even hearing that. Just give a weird look and look away. Pretty much. Yep. But what if the situation escalates? Just because I don't feel like interacting? So being multi-race, so, and with a troubling process to deal with. Yep. At the same time. And then just a couple minutes ago, being threatened, I've been kicked out of the house. Yep, it all adds up. What the fuck do I do at this point? Oh, don't feel safe. You just nope, even if there are enough good people out there. Just a few bad apples could just ruin your fucking life. A few of them. you just come across them, it's just it's fucking over. Yeah, well, how it is, I guess. I just wish I could just do justice. I mean, let's see the fucking thumbnail of this video. Just, yeah, go to prison, but they gets bailed out. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I wish I could just act up in self-defense in a very proactive way. Not wait until shit happens, just prevent the shit from happening in the first place. If they're not gonna fucking learn, if I am not going to be their next victim, somebody else will. So might as well, I don't know, just if only I could though, if only I could, without getting myself caught and all that.
Me again. I don't want to get pepper spray. I really don't. Don't pick up my hat. You heard me. Touch me again. By the way, he's been doing this for a while. It's kind of what he's known for. He's just like that racist dude with the strap. And he basically just committed like probably the lamest crime in the fucking world. He just called this black dude the N-word, harassed him. The guy came up to him, impressed him, and he fucking shot him multiple times. He just attempted murder on a dude who got mad at him because he called him the fucking N-word. And obviously he's trying to play the self-defense card, like, oh, he's coming up on me, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I don't think, dude, you think judges are like stupid? Come on, bro, you're walking around calling people slurs and getting pressed about it and fucking popping them. Like, are you kidding me? Like, no judge is gonna call that self-defense. You're just being a nuisance in public. I don't know. So, at this point in the story, you probably think it's like, the happy ending. The guy got arrested for attempted murder, blah, blah, blah. But no, this is actually the point I'm trying to make with this entire video. When Chud the Builder got arrested, the judge set the bond to over $1 million. And usually that's a good thing. But a few days later, a GoFundMe popped up to support Chud the Builder and his family. Holy shit, he has a family. I just damn. He has kids and he's doing this shit. What? And as of today, it has raised damn near like $200,000. Okay, and whatever you can donate, you can actually leave like a little message with your donation. And dude, some of these donation messages are fucking insane, bro. Like I thought Instagram comments were bad. This is passionate, genuine racism. Like, let me read you guys the first donation I came across when I visited his page. Thank you for being brave and standing up to the obvious bias in our nation. They want to prove that they can kill us for simply saying something they don't like. Here's $500. Not much in the grand scheme, but I couldn't stand by and do nothing while they actively hunt us. Who is us? White people? An example for all white men. Be part of the Manor Bun. Here to support you, brother. You know what I mean? Like that was typed by an actual race. That guy really does not like black. We were chained and beaten to death, enclosed in a concrete cell with only a damn incandescent bar for life. What the fuck is this guy even talking about? What is the hold on? Like a son of a man appeared before us and shattered the walls of our confinement. We saw that every wicked judge had become a defendant. Why is this guy talking like he's the second coming of fucking Jesus? All right, this is a dude who goes on stream and harasses black dudes and calls them slurs. All right, God spoke mighty judgment to the victims of their time.
I don't fucking get how the fuck those racist retards they mix up Christianity at the same time. How fucking dense and stupid you gotta be to just do that. And just the one thing I can think of is because of the whole fucking thing in Genesis that God put a fucking curse on someone for killing their sibling or something like that. And then the curse itself is to become black. But even though the Bible never said explicitly it's the case, but they just those stupid racist people they interpret it just that way. It's just not. If it's not that, what is it? What is it? What is it? How to mix up racism and Christianity and religion? How do you even do that?
Spoke mighty judgment to the victims of their tyranny, and the judges were sentenced to drown forever in thick putrid blood. I don't know. This guy, I think this guy is just, this wasn't even racist, This was just weird. I think this guy might be schizophrenic or something. But regardless, that guy donated him $3,000. Okay, I guess he's really passionate about Chud the fucking Builder. But yeah, hopefully that gives you guys an idea of the types of people that are donating to this dude and this GoFundMe. And it kind of just all, circles back to my original point, bro. Racism is normalized now. It's evolved, bro. People don't care anymore. Like, fucking this dude, $200,000 for a guy who walks around calling black people slurs. Like, what are we talking about here? You know what I mean? Alright, so when it comes to my final thoughts, racism is bad, I guess. I don't know, like, it sucks that it's being normalized and shit, but this has been kind of happening for a while. But regardless, I just want to make a video on that because, I kind of thought about, damn, like, back in 2020, if you even muttered something close to the N-word, bro, you said it in Spanish, you fucked, But nowadays, you got people like Chud the Builder raising 200 bands and fucking, and whatever. But yeah, either way, that's pretty much gonna be the video, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope I educated at least one of you. If you like the video, subscribe. If you didn't, fuck you. Well, you've been watching this part of the video anyway. And yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. Peace out, love you. Wait, no, moral of the video. Don't call black people slurs. I don't fucking know. But yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. Peace out, love you. Bye.
Well, what the fuck?
If you like the video, subscribe. If you didn't, fuck you. Well, you've been watching this part of the video anyway. And yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. Peace out, love you. Wait, no, moral of the video. Don't call black people slurs. I don't fucking know. But yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. Peace out, love you all. Bye.
I have to talk over this because it's copyrighted now. Too shiesty, that's my dog. You know I'm really shiesty.
The fuck? Hello. Yep, dear. Oh, the threats about being able to go outside, but no, that is. But it's sure to have another choice. I don't care if I really don't have a choice. Then sure, just waste away the privilege to be safe at home. No way, they can threat to break through my shit, my computer, my phone, etc. Just shred into pieces, all that. Just everything, do all that. I still won't say, it will not push me to go outside and get a job. It's just nope. I'd been blackmailed once. I'd been told to fuck off. And being told fucking slurs and all that. At least was a homeless person without a fucking weapon or a knife or something. At least it was just a homeless person on fucking red line. But still, being blackmailed when I was working as a cashier at Five Guys. Just no way I'm doing that. I cannot seek justice because of my immigration status. Even if I were a citizen and all that, I wouldn't be able to afford a fucking lawsuit. I just sue someone for that, I cannot even either. Oh, so... Oh. Yeah, just wait it up. If by chance I become a citizen just fine, as expected, at least a recognized citizen, I mean, come on now. It's been almost 10 years I have a fucking taxpayer ID. I guess that doesn't mean fucking anything, I guess. Not a single thing, but yeah. And then, even if things normalized, I would just feel slightly safer, at least going outside. With all the stupid cameras around, do you think I can just show up my face anywhere? No fucking way. I can only wait and wait. If things don't improve, fuck my life. As simple as trying to fix this shit while putting myself out there playing with fire. There's no way I'm doing that. No fucking way. Oh no. Best I can do is just, put to an empty public wall. Not much else. Try to make a video about me. Try to make publicity on that, probably make shit worse. Much worse. Just stay quiet. Lay your head low. Quite literally been told a few times to lay my head low. In a literal sense. Literally. Just don't. I was just in the street, just what the fuck, man. How do you even live like that? People commit suicide for way less, people become terrorists for way less. And I'm just here having to be patient. And I'm still patient, but yeah. I don't know, it just sucks. I can watch that later, I lost it. Oh. I'm tired. And then, I don't have those people fucking with my life outside. Then I have my parents threaten me to kick me out. Break through my shit. So yeah, I'm picking my poison. My poison are my parents. I guess it's safer. They can threaten me as much as they want. Oh. Let me see. Yeah, I just want to check on this list. Is this zero? Funny that my parents are from part of the same religion. They used the same bullshit excuses to justify racism. Mix up Christianity and racism somehow. Up until the moment the government said, nope, stop being insufferable like that. And by the 1980s, they came up with an official declaration that, okay, we're not racist anymore. You can get your fucking priesthood if you feel like. Yep. That's how it is. My grandfather refused to join Mormonism because of that, because he was black. He just, no, is it really that church that is just kind of racist? No. Whatever, for some reason my father joined it. And he expects me to do the same. Yeah, good stuff. Hmm. Okay, this is the cutoff point. Hmm. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Let's check 14 minutes ago. Might as well check again last time. Here as well, and that's it. I don't think I added anything else in here. Yeah, might as well double check. Yeah, sucks. And yeah, in a couple of days, weeks, months from now, another death threat, another. I'm gonna break through your shit, you gotta have nothing kind of threat. Another. I could be renting this fucking room you're occupying to somebody else who's gonna pay it, who has a job and all that type of threat. But yeah, in no time, at least another threat this year should be expected. At least one more. Even if it's the very last one before I do something about it. Maybe it could be the last one, or the second or third last one, who knows. Nah, later. I'm not in the mood for that. Yeah, that's all. Oh, hold up. That's all. Yep, that's all. I'm fumbling.